Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session 0 of Kids on Brooms. We're all
Woo!
very excited to be here. So, for our session 0, we are going to be discussing world building. We're going to create the school together collaboratively. And then after that, we're going to introduce our characters who will be playing in this wonderful magical world. So, welcome to Magic School, everybody. All right, is everyone excited? Let's get started.
Such so.
I am.
Let's do it.
Actually, since this is our first session 0, let's go ahead and go around and introduce ourselves. I will go first. My name is Danny. I'm going to be the GM or headmaster for this Magic School game. And yeah, that's me. We're also going to be drawing, so you'll see in the middle of the screen, you'll be seeing our creations come to life. All right, I'm going to throw the ball to Deanna.
Oh, that's me. Oh, I'm not muted, right? Okay, no, I'm not. Hello. My
Well
name
done.
is Deanna. I'm going to be a player. I don't know if there's other information I should share. I'm just going to write Deanna issue. All right. Who would like to introduce?
What does that mean?
Find out soon enough.
Yeah, find out.
Lauren.
I'm Lauren. I'm going to be playing a student as well. Student. A pleasure to have in class.
There we go.
Aw,
I'm
that's
gonna
so
run out of room
sweet.
very quickly.
Love this. Love this.
I will say that you probably recognize most of our faces on this stream. However, we do have a very, very special guest playing with us for this game named Danny, and Danny is from...
I am from usually the Majestic Goose Network. Hello. I will also be a student and possibly a problem.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see what the magic quill has to say.
Majestic. I'm
The
such a
magic
fan
quill.
of this
Problem.
problem.
All right, and let's pass it to Josh.
Hi, everyone. I'm Josh. In regards to Ink and Liar stuff, I'm probably most well known for my guest appearance as Geffrey I'm blanking on what's the name of that specific.
Spelljammer.
Thank you. In Spelljammer, I guest played Geffrey, which was super fun, and I did one little stint in the Halloween one shot, which was incredibly fun, which is why I'm so excited to be working with Lauren again, because of the one and only time I've worked with Lauren previously. That character cracked me the hell up. So I am very excited to be here again. I will also be playing a student.
And we're going to pass it to Tess.
Yeah.
Hello, I am Tess. I will also be a student, as that is the name of the game. You'll probably know me from Malifaux and other war game-like things. And I am a demon, apparently. I accept this. Although I'm aiming more for like Forest Witch, Deanna. Steal your children in the middle of the night kind of vibe.
Oh, it has a little witch hat. Fixed.
Hell yes.
All right. Awesome. So Kids on Broom is a collaborative world building game. So to do that, we are going to be making the school together. It's going to be a lot of fun. I cannot wait. So excited. So let's get started with that. So our school is called, we have to name it, everybody. So let's think of some names.
I feel like I need to know so much more before we can name it. Like, is this in the modern day? Is this medieval?
Okay, well, it's not going to be medieval, because no.
Aw.
Look at the cover of the book. No, but we've already discussed previously, we do want influences of social media. So I
feel like this
Called
feels
Kids
pretty
on
modern,
Brooms,
right?
Not Surfs on Brooms.
I think that's a good one. I feel like the main question is going to be, is this I think modern is where it has to root from, but is it modern trying to play to like stereotypical ancient roots of magic, or is this modern like we're done with that old shiznit and we're going to bring in like, let's bring the new age of magic into this school? Like, where are people vibing there?
Ooh.
So I think that probably we want to do modern for sure, but we had discussed before that the school is not fond of technology, right?
Mhm.
Limits it quite staunchly. So, how are we thinking about the school kind of being more traditional?
I feel like that fits pretty well.
Get to go sneak out and have like, Facebook club nights.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like sneak out to local internet cafe.
Facebook and weed. It's just like except it's
Facebook and
school.
weed.
So
Oh
I
my
don't know.
God.
No, that's what the kids do these days.
That's
yeah.
is that what the kids do? Man, based on the character I'm planning on playing, I'm gonna have to get this shit on lock because
How to be
Take notes, Josh.
yeah,
Take
how
notes.
to be that how to nail that.
How to be cool.
How to be cool. God, it's been a while. Uh, name for a modern
I mean,
magic school.
I feel like to be properly like I want to go kind of like dark academia, like Ivy League sounding. It has to be named after some old dude, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, or it has to have some kind of pretentious name, a very long
like
name.
Cornelius Figgleton or something.
Yeah.
Bigleton would be a great house name.
Biggleton.
Okay.
Like you can name like a wing of a school.
I feel like
Should we
names
start a
always
list?
take me a
Let's
hot
just
second.
let's just throw stuff out and like
Okay.
start a list.
Let's do a
Mhm.
list.
For me, names usually come after everything else, so I'm like,
Yeah,
how
same.
now?
Well, we've got the time period, right? We want to go for, like we were saying, dark academia. That's normally late 19th century to the early 19th century. So that's like to the early 20th century. So we're thinking what, like 1800s vibes? It doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
have
The
to
vibe
be.
of the school is that time period for sure.
Mhm.
Right. It's kind of like they're
Right.
stuck in that age, like, and they like it. They want to be stuck
Yeah.
in that age. But you step outside of it, and maybe the world is quite modern. So we've got the time period. Let's see, what else do we
Is
want to
this
do?
like one soup? Like are we thinking like big? I guess I'm thinking of that time period. So we're not thinking like this would be some big giant castle-esque building. This is like a collection of potential like older buildings, I'd imagine, or what I guess kind of look like older buildings. And like
Oh.
what from a region standpoint, like where are we gonna sit?
So I went to school at a place that had like the one central, very old building and
Mhm.
two side buildings that were also equally old. One of them was like a chapel type thing with the stained glass.
Yeah.
And then just behind it, they built like an uber modern building to go along with it.
Yeah. Almost out of
And-
necessity.
Yeah, because there wasn't enough room in that one super old building. So they started building on new ones that were much more modern architecture. It was
Sure.
very 70s in style to go with like the 19th century almost castle looking building in the front.
I don't know why when you said uber modern building, I immediately started thinking of that huge bubble in Paris. I think it's next to the Louvre. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh right, yeah.
Exactly which one.
That could be a lot of fun, though. I think because we have such a large campus, we can have a bunch of like older looking buildings, very archaic, very like chapel-like. But then we do
Yeah.
have that really weird modern building, and we can figure out what that building is for. But
Yeah.
I think that could be a lot of fun. Like,
It's home ec.
It's home ec.
I do think with the question of like, where is this school? It brings up a lot of other questions for me. Like, is this like, I don't
okay,
know.
well, we will get there, Deanna. We will get there. You're gonna say, where is it?
If we don't know it. Okay, well, let's call it pork pie for now, and we'll come back to. I don't know how to name it if we don't know
Like-
anything
Well,
about it.
I like the idea of it having like a really old, complicated name, but everyone just calls it something like the Academy,
Mhm.
or like we have a nickname for it,
Mhm.
something short and sweet that may not at all be related to the name.
Something
Maybe
like
we do call it pork
Latin.
pie.
We can return to the name. We don't have to start with the name. That was just the first thing. We can go. So we have our campus. We have that it is the vibes. We want like older buildings with one new building plopped in. Okay. And we want to, okay, let's figure out, let's see. So we figured out time period. And let's do where it, well, let's look at the world for a minute, because this might also notify us basically how hidden the school is. Is the school hidden, and is magic hidden in the world? Because that's going to inform us how hidden our school is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So personally, as someone who, and again, this is not necessarily my responsibility as we think about the game, but I feel like making Magic well known in the world is a massive decision for the world and has implications that are hard to
Mhm.
like truly think through the reverberations of what does it mean if the world knows that magic exists? What does it mean if, I mean, again, there are some topics in this game I imagine we are not even going to get close to covering, but where my brain starts to go is if magic is well known to the rest of the world, how does that affect how government runs, you know, wars are done? What does modern day life look like? What,
Yeah.
and I feel like that is such a huge undertaking, even if we're not like entering that part of the world, if in the realm of, if there are these secret social media clubs, like even as we try to interact that way, what does it look like in the rest of the world that we're getting a little piece of? I feel like there's
Mhm.
something, and I feel like I would rather lean into the magic is pretty secret and
Mhm.
that this place is secret just to have a little bit more of a microcosm and like brings in some of the drama of like how are we going, how have we tried to hide the fact that we can do magic in the outside world? I think that creates bonding experiences between, and even potential connection points between players. I would argue, I think that magic is not well known in the world, and therefore the school and magic is hidden, is where I would fall.
That
Okay.
brings up an implication, though, that I personally find really interesting because it's the thing that always makes you really upset in fantasy settings. That means that there must be the vast majority of human people must be incapable of doing magic.
Yeah.
Are you
Hmm.
born with the ability to do magic, or is it something that everyone can learn, but only some people are allowed to learn? Or
Hmm.
is it that you have to be born of special blood in order to use magic?
Hmm.
Well, I think it's probably usually when magic is hidden or magic is specialized, it's people are born with the ability to do so. So,
Hmm.
I also do think there will be different kinds of magic depending on like the races in the world as well, because we've got a large number of different kinds of people in the world. They're
Hmm.
probably going to have different capabilities of magic as well. Um, but if we narrow it down to the actual school, because we are looking at the world at large, but more so too, we are looking at the school. I think there's a lot of conflict that can rise within, like the students, if there are students that come from families who don't have magic,
Mhm.
that's always a thing that's fun
Yeah.
to play on. Um, Power dynamics, it's easier to integrate into the world if magic is hidden. And you're right, if they ever do leave, it could be fun to get stuck in an environment where you have to hide your magic too.
Especially like hiding your race, obviously, if you're something a little bit more blatantly, obviously magical.
Oh, well, I think Deanna does bring up a good point, though, in regards to, well, I just think overall what's been talked about so far does bring up this good point that I maybe just forgot about. Like, these other types of races are in the world, so we're either making a decision of are they truly everywhere and everybody knows about every possible, does everyone know about the existence of vampires and werewolves and nymphs, and or is that all wrapped up in this magical community that like some of the world is just completely ignorant to the fact that humans are not the only things on this planet? Like I'm curious if that's something is it just a given that everyone knows about all of that fact from like a race standpoint, and then we're making a decision about magic? Or are we making a bigger decision about is there like a huge section of the population that has no idea that there's anything other than what we would understand as normal life with only humans and there's no magic? Or is it pretty ubiquitous that there's different races but somehow still this misconception that there is no magic in the world?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um,
I'm just curious
also,
how people like if that's laid out or how people feel about that. Or
I'd
yeah,
like to
also,
hear from Lauren and Danny after you, Tess.
just as a point, obviously, if we are deciding to have magic be hidden, which I am all for, not saying as a, oh, let's not do it. But then someone had to make the decision who has magic not to be involved in everything else, to keep it hidden. And someone has to consistently make that decision of whoever the hell is in the power structure every time they're elected or every time the new leader comes to power after death or whatever.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that also says a lot about the society you are a part of, that they made the conscious decision to be like, nah, this is either too dangerous or we have been persecuted or whatever for too long and we're separating ourselves from everything else.
Mhm.
Like the X-Men.
So, what do you guys think? Lauren and Danny, do you guys have thoughts on magic hidden versus not hidden?
I think from a playing standpoint, hidden is going to be easier for us. I think that if it's not hidden, I mean, we do have to worry about all that external stuff that Josh was talking about, that there's a lot of extra that comes along with it, and figuring out how does magic integrate into the rest of the world then. So I think for something like this, it's simpler to have it a hidden thing, or maybe a mostly hidden thing where some people do know about it, but they are involved in keeping it secret.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like we could make it to where the outside world knows about it, but then like how does that world interact? Is there some sort of like they've always known, like they see us as gods, just like the Greek gods, interact with the world really regularly. So I mean, I think it could be done, and there in both ways. They're like breadcrumbs in the same way, like we already know about Zeus and all the other Greek gods and stuff. Like we know that lore exists, right?
Mhm.
But maybe it's like humans and mortals believe that it's just myth, right?
That's what I was gonna say, yeah, because there's a lot of mythology and
Yeah.
lore that surrounds fairies and, vampires, etc. anyway, in our world. So, Deanna?
I have a wild pitch and then I have a question. How do we feel about the idea that magic used to be a public thing, and then the decision was made by somebody that it should no longer be so? So that's where a lot of the mythology and like some
I
people
kind of like that.
Mhm.
Like
Interesting.
maybe,
So,
like maybe there was some sort of big event that happened where some wizard or witch cast some sort of crazy spell and it basically brainwashed all mortals' minds to protect the magical users or something. You know what I mean?
so the
Yeah,
question would be, is magic widespread? Is everyone capable of doing magic and that yet they don't know it? Or is it that they just don't know its existence?
My thought would be, and I'm totally open to pushback on this, just because I don't tend to like that some humans are just inherently better and more magical than others by virtue of their birth. I like the idea that maybe no humans are innately magical. It is something that they can learn or something that their parents teach them or whatever the heck. But there are many great human wizards. They just, like a nymph is magically going to be like, here's some flowers. But a human might actually have to train up and learn it. But most humans don't get to learn it. That's kind of what I'm thinking. But
Yeah.
how do you think about that?
Let me
Okay.
know if this is anything, because the I don't know why the idea came to my head as well. In an effort to make sure that we aren't putting this idea of magic as an innate something you're born with. What if magic was regional? If we have this idea that there is mythology around Greek gods and goddesses, what if it was this idea of magic actually is known to the world, but magic is only able to be used or cast in very specific regions of the world. So anyone can access magic if they want to. But if you want to do magic, if you want to participate in this power, you essentially need to constantly be living in or located in regions around the world. It's not just one, but there are like pockets of this magic that you can get access to. So people who want it essentially all end up flocking to these areas. But then there's, of course, there are people who either can't or decide not to move to these places that say, you know what, I don't want that for this, that, or the other, and say no. So that way there's like anyone theoretically can do it. It's not a person thing, but it's a region-based thing where the land is more, that land is blessed. That's where certain gods that we know exist reside and grant magic to people. I feel like there was something I listened to where it was like that. There are these beings that had magic, came down and taught magic to their followers, and so you had to stay around them to have access to that magic. I don't know if that's anything, but that's what came to mind. That solves some of it and does widespread, but keeps magic in a way confined. Like you can't gain a ton of power through it because you can't leave this area. You can't go on a conquest. You can't do this, that, or the other. You just kind of have to stay in your bubble, but that bubble's probably going to act very differently than the area 150 miles away that literally just doesn't have access to magic.
I think that we can find a middle ground for that idea because I do like the idea of having very strong pockets of like concentrated magic, like ley lines, things like that. I do want magic to be worldwide. I do think that it should be used around the world in general with different kinds of communities and things. But I think it's going to also have to do with probably families, right? That pass down their magic, especially in humans. Like, before, when magic was widely available, everybody knew it. And now you've got these families who are passing it down because they want to continue it in their bloodlines and their family lines. But somehow, there's got to be some kind of memory wipe, I feel like, right? That distinguishes this part of history from this part of history.
A public acknowledgement that within the magic community of like, this cannot continue to be quote unquote truly public knowledge. This needs to go away, and then it's more of a secret in that, hey, magic still exists, we can still use it, but we're just not going to tell everyone. And when you say within families, it's less about, to Deanna's point, hereditary, some people are just born different. It's more like, no, these families were essentially given permission to keep this information and keep it within the family with the understanding of we need to like be shush about it. And whether or not that or is a threat, if that or is a look, we all understand what happened, and then it's on each generation to pass down the significance of here's what happens if we let this get out type thing. It's less of an ultimatum and more of a promise, like, no, if this gets out, things will go bad, and it's our responsibility to keep it secret for the world's protection. And
that still does
how that
exactly. And I like your idea because it still allows for situations in which like humans in very strong magical areas their abilities are popping up, and the families that they live around or the communities they live around that don't know about magic don't get what's going on. And so they can still have that kind of history if they'd like.
And allows for a bleeding effect. If we say like, man, yep, someone fucked up and told this person, like, all right, they're in the fold now. It's just the way it is. They're going to want to learn magic. And look, we have a new magic family, and we got to whatever. And that allows opportunity.
Guess the Smiths are now mages.
Like, damn,
depending on how dark we want to, get, right? Because also it could also be, well, we got to change their memories and ship them off somewhere else.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. It could be really fun and dark. It could be, depends on the community, I'm sure.
I feel like there's a real controversy, like it's all on the talk shows and the podcasts of our within the wizarding community of like, there's too many new magic users taking our jobs. We should just wipe their memories and put them somewhere else.
Yeah, I can imagine that being a big, like you said, point of controversy. Like, when is the right time to wipe someone's memory? Is that just taboo? Are there actual rules around it? Does everyone know the spells to wipe memory? Is there standard, or did each family choose certain magics to focus on to again make some of those splits from the fairies to the werewolves to the was there certain pieces of magic specifically passed down versus they just gravitated towards these certain types, and then we have school to try and help equalize that?
That whole idea feels like a senior level course, like an entire
that's right, there's a whole study,
a whole senior level study.
If someone's degree, someone of our party will take that as their like final dissertation.
I'm going to add that to our class list, ethics of magic. Okay.
And it's going to be Josh, I'm going to bet.
Yeah, definitely. When we introduce my character, that's definitely the one who's going to be taking that senior level course. That 100%.
Yeah, I totally would write a dissertation.
Yeah, stick around to find out why, because
100 pages, just.
So thinking of this academy specifically, do we feel like? I feel like it could go in two different directions. Is it one that's kind of like hosted by and under the name of one of these grand wizarding families who's been there since the shift? Or is it like one that was put together, maybe people outside of it, people who were not human wizards and not a part of that family, made up of witnesses and people outside the fold? How do you feel like the academy relates to that big idea?
Well, if we do have ley lines, wouldn't it be wise to have schools built to put on those ley lines? If you're teaching someone how to use magic who's maybe not too knowledgeable, put them at the site of magic.
Yeah.
What if one of the ley lines is like a lake from like the Lady of the Lake from like the King Arthur, and like the school surrounds this massive lake?
Or inside the lake, if you fall in at a certain with a certain spell, you flip it through a portal or something.
It just surrounds it.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I'm going to talk about France again. They have that castle that's outside. Sometimes the tide comes in and you can walk out there, but then the tide comes out.
Oh, I know what. It's like, oh God, I know what it's called.
If you walk through Stonehenge,
is that Saint Michel?
Saint something. Saint.
It's definitely Saint.
Hi, everybody.
Saint Paris Castle.
I think it's Chateau Saint Michel, maybe.
It's like a city.
I love the idea of having our school built on the Lady of the Lakes lake.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everyone's
if you enter Stonehenge at exactly midnight,
Saint Michel.
walk through.
Mont Saint Michel or Michel or.
If we're saying that there are multiple schools, are we assuming that these schools, again, in this idea that were the schools started and are they completely run independently, or is there an acknowledgement between all of the magical communities around the world that we need to be teaching the magic of our, the youth, the magic, trying to sorry, I don't know if I'm explaining this well. If we're going kind of with the idea that certain magical families decided to hang on to certain types of magic or specialized in it, are we in an area where we're saying, hey, let's go ahead and try to disperse all information to everyone so we're all starting to get back onto the same foot? Or are we saying, nope, our school was started by this very specific person, and because of that they'll focus on this type of magic so we don't see as much of this? Does that question make sense?
So I think every school is going to acknowledge the existence of each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I do think each school is a world in and of itself, right? Every school is going to have different values, different founders, different vibes. Not to say they don't ever come together, because I'm sure that's a time they will do that. But I would like to think that the schools all individually operate from one another.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I like that.
I think that makes sense. Are we going standard curriculum style, or again, each school is making their own curriculum with the same goals? I guess that's more what I'm trying to figure out is again, if the goal is, hey, these families for a while, the werewolves don't really get nature magic. They just don't. That's not what they focused on when whoever is passing magic down. If a werewolf, if they built a school in their area where there's a high population of werewolves, are they going to just ignore essentially nature magic because they don't care as much? Or are we going to is every school yeah, we got to hit these core points, but we're going to do it our way?
Some sort of education board, or is everybody
exactly? Yeah.
I don't think, judging by, I guess, how we've been talking about it so far, it almost seems like every school is kind of like a private school in that sense. And I do think that probably there will be schools where it's werewolf schools, we do battle magic only because that's what's, we specialize in. It's like a magnet school kind of.
Sure.
I'd like to think our school is a little more broad when it comes to education, just because we do have all of these different majors, which we will talk about.
Cool.
Yeah, and just to accommodate as much as everyone wants with, everything everybody wants to do.
Hundo P.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so what is that's a good point though. What is our school known for? What is, do we have enough information to come up with a name yet?
Well, we now know it's in the lake.
We know it's in the lake.
If it is on the Lady of the Lake, I almost want to name it something like full Catholic. Our Lady of Perpetual Wetness, not that name.
I'd
Our Lady of
not.
Perpetual Wetness.
There it is.
It's totally.
I mean, this is collaborative, but
but
collaborative.
Is this really the vibe?
That could be funny though to do
I do dig that.
What if it was hold on, something French, since it's
I was thinking same thing, something French. L'Académie du well, if you're going with something at Dumont Saint-Michel.
Wait,
And it just translates to the Academy of Mount Saint Michel, and we all call it the Academy, and it's named for the place that it is.
Are we actually at Mont Saint Michel, or are we just taking inspiration from how it's built on a lake?
Or l'Académie
Du
du Lac.
Charlotte.
It's
Yes,
the lake is from the Lake Shallot. That's all I could think of, right?
Can we just call the school the Onion then? That would make me happy.
I don't know if I have the name right. Somebody will have to fact check to me.
Love this.
Hi, everybody who's the audience. And Danny, I've not yet met you, but my name's Jake, and I'm just in the shadows of helping write shenanigans here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Danny has left, apparently?
No. Everyone. Oh.
Yeah, power just went out.
Oh no!
Bye.
Sales pitch to all the players now, suddenly that the game masters.
Heck yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well then.
Yes, Danny, exactly. I was just looking up the French for Lady of the Lake, right? And it's what you wrote. And I was thinking that then your nickname would be Dulac, right?
Dulac.
Wait, hold on. Is that a Shrek
Wait,
reference?
that's a Shrek
Yes,
thing.
that's a Shrek thing.
It is indeed a Shrek thing.
That's a positive for me. I don't know how everyone else feels, but
No,
that's a positive
yeah.
for me. I know. Damn it.
The lady of, is that Ophelia? Who is the Lady of Shallot?
Dudoc. Can we do Dudoc because it's water instead of Duloc? Dudoc. What does that mean, French? In French. Great job, Josh.
The Lady of the Lake. Okay, the Lady of the Lake is also known as Vivienne or Nimue. Here, I'm gonna.
Yeah, confidence here, Lauren.
Also,
Confidence.
it's not French.
I don't think it's not.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know why.
I put it in chat.
I don't know why we're leaning so hard into we're going with a French name
because it sounds pretty, damn it.
Sounds pretty.
She actually is an enchantress who lives in a castle beneath a lake surrounding the island of Avalon.
Yeah.
Be underwater. Sorry,
Oh, Nemu, but it's like secretly Nemo, but it's Nemu.
Because the Lady of the Lake, it's a myth in England.
No, yes, we know
It's
this.
It's not a real place.
No, insert. Oh shit, where the fuck am I then?
Yeah, England's not real. I don't know what you're smoking over there, but nice try.
Where am I from then? Damn.
I don't know.
Okay,
You'll figure that out.
It's pronounced Nimue.
Nimue? What? Okay. We're coming up with dumb names, right? Okay, this is archaic school vibes, right? These are no. I'm just like sales pitching, like
right.
Some old fart somewhere was like, this is what we're calling it, right? And it's like unfortunate nowadays. And I just wrote La Académie des Dames Sous-Marines, the Academy of the Underwater Lady. Like something where if anyone translated, they're like, "That's stupid." Somebody was like, "Oh, a chef's kiss, it's beautiful."
Because he lives somewhere where no one speaks French, so he sounds fancy. Whatever.
Exactly, it's just some pompous white guy showed up and was like, "Hey guys, check this out."
That is most of English folklore.
And all of his buddies were like,
to make Tess happy, our school is in England, but they decided to name it in French the School of the Underwater Lady to make themselves seem
100%. That is great.
Jake, can you put the spelling in the chat, please?
Yeah.
That is very true to English folklore. Of some French guy showed up and is like, "Damn, aren't I amazing?" And we all went, either stab him or yeah. And
and in our world, we're like, it was yeah, and now everyone's like, we should have stabbed him. Oh,
we did stab them. That's most of English history. Is stabbing the French. Or being stabbed by the French.
Wait. I'm gonna just jump in here for a second. If you name it, if we're naming this the Academy of the Underwater Lady,
you have to give me the spelling for it, please.
I will.
Getting there.
Yeah. Whomever is doing, I have a computer doing it, and my phone is what I'm on, so it's a little bit harder. But if you are saying that the school is called the Academy of the Underwater Lady, like it doesn't like is it Occam's razor say there has to be a underwater lady? Like, are we sold to the notion that is an entity that is there?
That's
Why would this person be called it? Right?
The headmistress has to be like a nymph or a merfolk at all times.
Absolutely. All right. I can't wait.
That's the family that started the
Descended,
school.
exactly. Descendant of the great lady of the lake,
Mhm.
and all headmistresses and headmasters descend from her. And
Yeah, it's that bloodline.
Or I like to imagine to keep it to like make it so it's not so like only these people can be the headmaster or headmistress. I think maybe there's just magic is in the world. They like have to adopt. They have to like that's just where they have to live. If they can't
just
naturally
adopt that
breathe
title.
water, you're getting gills. You're getting something. You're living under there for your tenure, and then you can come back when you're done. But
I love the idea that the other schools, their running joke against your school is that you guys are just wet all of the time. Like,
oh my god!
I am playing a merf.
Everybody
I am playing
has-
like a water nymph, so I kind of am perpetually a little bit moist. I'm a river flower.
wait, all right, I'm going to say I'll pitch one more thing and then be quiet for a while. If following the logic you were talking about before, right, that there may be a lot of old buildings and then there's some new ones. Based upon the geography of where this school is put, maybe the plumbing has gone out and things keep leaking a lot more, and so new buildings have had to be put in to kind of try to deal with the problems of just like school infrastructure.
Yeah.
Sales pitch.
Amazing. I believe Danny is back. Danny, we have school while you were away.
You what?
We named the school while you were away. It's l'Académie de la Danse Sous-Marine.
So freaking long. Okay.
It's the Academy of the Underwater Lady.
And it's in another language. Okay.
Yeah.
You're
It's
welcome.
also called the LDSM, which is aggressively close to BDSM.
Oh, see,
LD or LDS.
this is what I'm talking about.
Or
LDS
LSD.
BDSM.
Okay, l'Académie de la what is it? What is DA?
It's in the chat as well. De la
Okay.
Danse Sous-Marine.
I'm not certain if because Danny was gone when that chat was produced, you might need to
Here,
reproduce.
I got it.
Zoom does not-
Yeah,
LDS.
Danny's not the one recording.
I'm
Yeah.
recording.
Thankfully, I'm not, because apparently Las Vegas decides to be windy today. I don't know what's going on. Okay. All right,
We
so we
also
named.
potentially made the decision that due to the name, we decided it was just some French guy who showed up and was like, this sounds really cool. But when you translate it to the School of the Underwater Lady, everyone's like, wait, is that really what that translates to? But every headmaster and headmistress needs to take their tenure at the office, like they need to live in the place that is underwater. Like you get a pair of gills, you get a breathing spell, you get something, but your entire tenure is spent under the water.
Because what we learned is that the sorceress Nimue,
Fuck's sake.
she did not just live under the lake, she lived in a castle under the lake, which is where
Okay.
school might be if people are down, or at least
Yeah.
the head has to live down there.
Oh, okay, so
I think some of the
so we
classes
want
are
it
underwater.
completely underwater. That's
Well,
gonna
I
be
think just some
hard
of the
though,
classes.
as far as brooms are concerned. I will point that out. If we
I only think one of the
I
buildings
almost
needs to
feel
be
like-
underwater.
I can
If we
can
go-
see.
I feel like detention. Sorry, Deanna, go ahead.
I'm feeling like full Portal style. There is a castle above, and then there's a like almost a mirror of the castle that is underneath the lake, like it's
Mhm.
above and below.
Is the
Yeah, I like
so
that.
is there like classes and campuses underneath and also above as well, or is it
Yeah.
just the head? Okay, so it's
It's
okay.
like an iceberg where you only see what 25% of it above the water and the rest is underneath the water.
They put
Okay.
the things above that need to be above. Like all the greenhouses are above, and like how to ride a griffin is above.
Hmm.
But like
Okay.
if you're doing like home econ or like your like psychology class, that's like in the deepest bowels, like beneath the dirt and gravel. There's no light, everything's just black. Give us one candle you carry around.
There's like the rooftop garden that is the entire grounds of the school. And there's a big observatory on top because I think we have divination classes according to the book.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have divination?
Again, just lobbing one idea out there.
Jamie.
Well, this is you guys are y'all building the world. I'm just gonna lob ideas, so please take
I love it though. I love it.
If magic is being hidden, I'm just playing something out here for a moment. If magic is being hidden, I mean, what is this? I'm just trying to think, like, what does this look like to an average non-magical person? And if you want to get dark, if the school is enormous and is like an iceberg, if this is on a body of water, there's probably a lot of ships that hit stuff and sink. And then they're like, whoa, whoops.
Okay, I have an insane pitch. First of all, it's a lake. I don't know how many ships are going across the lake. I don't know the size of the lake. Second of all, how about during the day is underwater, and at night, okay,
but people are still going to walk around for evening strolls, Deanna.
Because you were talking about the French castle with the tides that go out, and then when the tides are out, you can walk around.
But what about that one goth kid that takes his girlfriend on like a date through the hills, and he's just like walking like, "Hey, look at the stars, aren't they pretty? What the fuck? Why are there kids flying around?"
Well, but if maybe like for non-magical individuals, it just looks like a mountain, right? It is just a tide-based mountain. They don't actually notice any of it, right?
I was going to say, I have to imagine there's some sort of illusion magic that is like keeping this place hidden, mostly from the outside world. I feel like they had to choose somewhere that was somewhat remote. For people who have flying brooms, not a problem. We can get you there. We're the teleportation. We can get you there. I feel like this place is going to be pretty fucking hard to get to if you're just like some gothic kid taking his date up in the mountains and hills, like, look at this. This is my favorite view. Holy shit! Look at this mountain. It's just like.
So do we want to make it look like a mountain, or do we want to make it invisible? Because if it's invisible, there will be ships that crash, and there will be sunken ships near the campus underwater.
It's a pretty big lake.
It's a big. If there's a castle and a campus underneath it, it's a big freaking lake.
Yeah, this is a good time. This is a good time to decide true theme. Are we going pretty dark? Because then it's like that one fisherman shows up, and we're like,
time to kill the fisherman.
He can't leave, guys. There's like weird security.
You have like the entire senior class of ethics of magic going out, and the professor's like, well, this fisherman is getting dangerously close.
Or he brings him to class.
About what to do with it.
He's like in stasis. We captured this guy. What do we do with him?
I think it makes more sense that it would be invisible, because if it's a mountain, who knows if people would try to climb it,
scale it.
Or inhabit it.
So
the other
it's
option,
invincible and we go dark.
The other question is is this area taped off? Is this one of those like stay back? This, they lie and say this was the site of a nuclear, if we're modern day, this was a something site. This was something that keeps people out.
Like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's got like maybe like some sort of Chernobyl vibes. Like you can't go over there. It's got really bad radiation.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, building off of that, like a lighter version of that might be that the locals are told that it's haunted, and like the Loch Ness monster, something lives in the lake, and people can go and risk it if they want, but it may be one of the classes for the students that is like the entry level ethics of magic is making spooky stuff to scare off people from coming to the school.
We can get a little darker. They capture these kids who decide to risk it, bring them to class, and they're like, all right, kids, we're going to practice our mind wiping spells. Here we go. And everyone gets a shot. Like all right, guys, we captured someone, like, let's do it. And the best part is that because they keep wiping the memory, it's the same kind of like shithead kids who keep showing up.
And his girlfriend.
It just keeps showing up. They're like, all right, guys, Doug's back. All right, we got a class.
Oh my God.
This is the ideal like freshman classes. If you can't scare off these hikers, you're gonna have to wipe their mind. You have their option.
If you can't make Doug wet himself, You're not going to pass this
You're not-
class.
yeah, this is rough. This is the final.
I love the idea
Oh
the
my
goth kid.
God.
I love the idea that the goth kid is out with his partner, and the partner's like, "We've done this date before.
He's
Like
like,
this feels
I'm having
really
deja
familiar."
vu. I'm having
And the
deja
goth kid, no. This is the first time. I just love this scene, and then like a month later, they're like, "I really think we've done this
Well-
date a couple of times."
As much as I think that idea is hysterical, I also think if we're gonna do something along these lines, if we're gonna roll with this, I think part of this is like there's got to be some local like loner hiker or something that legitimately just one day builds up enough courage to go try to do this. Because otherwise, if you get like, you know, some 20-year-old who shows up with his date, you're gonna wipe them both, but they're young, and other people are gonna be like, "Why are you going out there again?" I'm like, "What are you talking like that?" My
Mhm.
brain just goes, that'll break down. But you need someone who's a local or a group of people who are local in the area who are kind of alone, who will continue to come back and try this. And then occasionally you do get the out of towners, the tourists who show up and try it. And then it's like, okay, we need to like do something a little different, or we need to play around with what it means to wipe someone's brain in this world, because then you can, you know, implant like, hey, you tried this and it didn't work. Like the more advanced magic users can implant a fake memory and say, great, you can go, versus, and there's problems there too, but I think that's a fun idea. I think that's fine. Just like, all right, gotta wipe them or
Yeah.
scare them off.
All right, so we've got some good stuff here. Some very good stuff. Okay, so we've got wrecked ships. We've got people who we are experimenting on.
Human
We've got-
experiments.
Does the
Are we bad? Are we evil?
Yes.
No, but this is ethics of magic, right? It's going to be different. Magical world is going to be different, and it's going to be fun and interesting, and people are going to disagree sometimes.
because it could be fully okay? I have two questions. One is, how recent are the shipwrecks? Is this like, oh, this used to happen, which is why we now put these safeguards in place? Or is it just like, we got another one, boys, 40 dead, 70 injured?
I don't think it's going to be a common occurrence, like, oh, look, every week it's happening. Because then they'd have to like take other measures. I feel like that would be very harmful to some extent to the school if ships are constantly crashing into it.
Yeah, I don't
This
think
is
we'd
the
be on a major
infrastructure.
shipping route, but
But I think it does say something about so how does magical society and specifically our school view so let's come up with a name for like the people who don't do magic, right? Like let's like I've always seen mundane, but I think that's really used a lot. I don't know if you guys have maybe a better term.
Freaking normies.
Monochromatics.
I feel like the young people say normies. What'd you say, Lauren?
I said monochromatics.
I really like that.
Monochromatics. It's wordy, but I like it. It's
It
good.
has a lot of syllables, but yeah.
Okay, but I also
We could
think
call
like
them
kids are gonna
monos
go
for
Yeah,
through
sure.
monos,
terms
absolutely.
anyway.
Monos. like the sickness mono.
Well, I mean,
Well-
that's a good point though. Mono, I mean, if we're linking monochromatic meaning one, that means that they could be the monos and we'd be the
Pollies.
chromatics. I mean, just
Yeah.
like we are the people who can do it. We're the chromatics. We're multicolor, we're multi whatever, if that's what we're using as analogy for magic. And then
Chromatics.
monos, yeah, monos and chromatics.
Okay.
Just running off of that idea, we can branch off to something else, but that clicks for me. You just cut it in half and you get a word for each.
Mhm.
Okay.
But that feels like a pressure to put a lot of emphasis on color in our world, which we could play with and could be interesting. But
It's an interesting, I mean, it's an interesting perspective, right? Because if magical people are calling them monochromatics, like they're like, oh, your world is so simple. It's like
Mhm.
doesn't even include magic. Like,
yeah,
Because we won't let you know about it.
yeah.
If it is the thing
Damn it.
that anyone can learn it, but only the people from certain families are allowed to keep it in the circle.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Oh man.
but I mean, we could be thinking of it like, you know, how humans have a certain range of wavelengths that we can see, but other animals have like this huge range. So
Mhm.
the monos can only see this range of life, but with the magic, we can experience a lot more because we just have access to it.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's so cool. I love that.
digging this.
Yeah, I
Okay.
quite like. I quite like the color thing.
Are we going with
Wow.
chromatics or chromas? I like both.
Oh, I just
I
short-
like chromas. I think chroma sounds cooler.
Chromus with a US.
Ooh, I like that better, yeah.
Because again, it has the kind of like, it's not French, but it sounds like some French guy could have made it up. It's
Okay.
one guy
Does
that took
chroma
French.
sound too much like a word though? Like, is that?
It doesn't. It's okay to sound like a word. So is mono.
Chromas does kind of sound like chrome, which is like shiny.
Which also works.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Like he also sounds like one guy that took like 4 French classes when he was like 30.
So
Like
we are
to
not.
like impress this girl in
So-
the
But
bar.
are we the chromases?
No,
or
wait,
is
just
it-
the chromis or chromi, maybe?
Yeah,
I think
are we?
chromis is fine.
I think chroma for one, chromos for multiple.
Chroma.
So chroma and chromis.
So this is essentially our witch or our mage, right? That is what we
Yeah.
call ourselves. Okay.
Go through a lot of vowels here.
I think US is what we're
Yeah, I think
we're
US.
liking.
Chroma, chromis.
It's
and
not because
mono.
the U is essentially just taking the place of the apostrophe or like the just with
Yeah.
an S. We're adding a letter and that's just turning it like the chromis is how you would talk about the Magic Society as a whole. The chromis versus a chroma.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Hmm. Okay.
I like that a lot. I think that sounds really cool. My other question is a specifically Academy question. Does the castle turn right side up at night, or is it just always above?
I think always having the 2. I think the iceberg's probably the. Is how I envision it.
I
I
think
imagine it
iceberg
just
makes
gets
more
taller,
sense.
like the whole thing goes
Yeah,
lifts and then sinks, is my thought.
Okay, cool.
or like the tide recedes to reveal more of it at night.
Oh, sure. It's not that it's moving, it's that the water almost goes
Yeah.
and falls away. Okay, cool.
Okay. All right. Did we talk about our head of school yet while I was gone?
They
Just
have
that
to
they
live
live
underwater.
They have to live underwater.
They have to live underwater.
You
Okay.
mentioned that maybe the original headmaster was the Lady of the Lake, but I don't know if we stuck with that or if we were just there.
Honestly, I think her
I thought
having her
Nemoa
found the
was.
school.
Is that Nemoa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nimue founded Nimue founded the school.
Vivian. Vivian is
Vivian.
the other one.
I think Nimue sounded pretty. Is that like her last name? What is the?
Vivian is a other, like in some storytellings of it, that was the name. Nimue is the most common one, so we're going with Nimue because it sounds cooler.
So was this then, if Nimue was the original headmaster, was this school founded by nymphs, dryads, naiads, and human students are accepted there? Or is it run by humans that just happen to work very closely with the natural spirits?
Well, she was kind of like a fey spirit, wasn't she? So
Wait, who's
Nimue. Let me see.
Nimue was a fairy.
What should I
I like
say?
the idea of it being started by some fey creatures, but very quickly opened to all.
Yeah.
And aiming to be very inclusive, as like one of the original tenets of the school is,
Like a
there's
refuge
that
for
school over
everyone.
there that just does werewolves, but we'll take everyone.
Hmm.
Okay, so then we will say she is for all intents and purposes, a nymph, because that is
Okay.
basically the kind of fae we have that are prominent in this world. So we'll say she is a lake nymph.
But is she still the headmaster, or has she passed on that mantle?
yeah?
I think she's passed it on, probably.
I was
Well,
real quick.
Sorry.
But if Nimue was the one who founded the school, why would she have called it such a shitty name?
I
But
don't think
if it
she named the school. I think it's her castle that the school was built in.
Okay. So I guess but if one of the things that Danny had said earlier, just a sales pitch here, is if Danny is saying like one of the things that was kind of going on is that like prestigious families were a big deal. Maybe it was one of Nimue's like really pretentious French children came back a little later on and was like, I learned some French, so let me tell you exactly what this is called. I'm going to do this in honor of my mom, actually, or my aunt, and then fully butchered it, fully flopped on the name, right? And at least keeps it in the family line, so there's a lot more like prestige. It's about the family.
Hmm.
I mean, if we want to go full, because we have a lot of stuff with myths and legends and folklore here, if we want to go whole ass, we could even go that a member of King Arthur's court was one of the originating founders of the school, since Nimue
Yeah.
was the one who lobbed a sword at that man. I
Well-
don't know who it would be because I don't know a lot about Arthurian legend, but it could be interesting.
Arthurian legend is wide and sporadic, to say the least.
So are we thinking Nimue founded it and somebody took it on, or are we thinking a member of the King Arthur's court
The
founded
way
it?
I'm kind of viewing it in my mind, like the way we're going, if we're sticking with like at least some form of actual legend there, I think it would make sense for like it to be founded by Nimue, but it wasn't like a named school. It was just she taught people there, and then after she passed, one of those students who's like maybe like her nephew or something, or her niece or whatever, is like, yeah, she taught us. Let's name it in honor of her. And then to keep Jake's idea had a really shit name.
Yeah, it was the Normans, the Normans coming over and doing, what if he's French? What if he did it French?
Yeah.
Okay, so she taught her students there, but her student was the one who founded the school, is what it sounds
who made it like
and
a
named
wider...
it a really weird name. Okay.
Yeah. Because then it kind of has both discussions we're currently having of who founded out of the two. Why not just be yes? I don't know what the hand motion that I'd keep with it.
Okay. So, is the rule that they're not allowed to leave the underwater area? Because that's what they are allowed to go wherever they want, I would assume.
I think it's like
it's just located
you're not
underwater.
Meant to. I think like you're like traditionally you're meant to live there, but like no one's really enforcing it.
I would assume like
it's the headmaster
are there. He or she can, or whoever can go wherever they want.
Right.
But that's where their quarters are. That's where their office is. I'm just making a big weird statue of Nimue that lures over a pool somewhere.
As someone who doesn't have a fucking artistic bone in their body, watching you just casually make this gorgeous little statue is blowing my entire mind.
Thank you.
I'm tempted to draw like my own interpretation, like a stick figure, and it looked really shit and a little bit disproportioned to like the left. No, I don't embarrass myself live.
Wow.
Okay, so we know who the founder of our school is. Let's talk. We have the name. We have the location. Let's talk a little bit about the head of our school now. So, what's their name? What are they best known for?
One other question, just to quickly bring up, because it's tangentially related. If we're going with a lot of like mythos in our world setting and our school specifically here, I know Lauren's character pitch also was a little bit mythy. One thing that, admittedly not for Nimue, but
I'll be right back.
Go for it. In English mythology and like Arthurian Celtic mythology, for like people like Oberon, for example, they are kind of titles that are passed down to different people that take up the mantle and then inhabit that soul, basically. Do we want to keep that with the Lady of the Lake?
So like whoever the headmaster is the Lady of the Lake?
Yeah. Like, they don't necessarily have to be a woman, but for all intents and purposes, they are the Lady of the Lake now. They're still the same person, it's just that they take on that mantle.
What goes along, I guess, what in this context would go along with are we going to, is it just a title strictly if we're going to go this way? Are there additional like duties that need to be done by the Lady of the Lake that in addition to like running this school they have to take over? Do we want to make this position that involved, or just given, again, just thinking very macro, do we want to have to, or I guess Danny specifically is the GM, do you want to build around whoever this person is having those additional responsibilities, or again, will this be a mildly mute point in the fact that like that would not come up, or would you, I don't know, I'm curious of that, because I think it's a cool idea, but is it something we want to put energy into if it's not necessarily something that would become a center point? I think it's a really cool concept. But if we're going to give them additional, or if it's just a title and that's it, and like that's something we call them, it's tradition to call them Lady of the Lake, regardless of who it is, because that's who they are for all intents and purposes. Because I think that's like enough of a story drive to do it, if not giving them more responsibility.
I think a title would be cool. The headmaster is generally a distant character.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we could do is possibly give them a title and maybe something physical, an artifact or something that's passed down to them. So that way, if you guys ever do find yourselves like in the headmaster's office or something, maybe you find that the players can still interact with it in that way. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's really cool that this mantle would be passed. I think Tessa's idea that this would be passed down and that maybe there's things we never learn about, but that's enough of a seed for Danny to get to run with and say, okay, maybe there are things that they would have to do.
Then she'd have Excalibur. In her office, there'd be Excalibur. That's her myth.
Yes, please. I love that.
The entire myth of Lady of the Lake was she gifted Excalibur.
And Excalibur would
myth,
be.
Will have it, or would
Yeah, because Arthur returned it afterwards.
Oh, he gave. That's how polite of him. That's lovely.
He ruled
I think
England,
that
and
could be
returned to the
cool.
lake.
Because then that gives the headmaster, the Lady Lord, whatever we want to call them, the power to protect the school in that way. That huge responsibility of wielding that weapon that to use to protect the school with if things go badly.
Cool. I love that.
Yep, this is baller.
Okay, so are we thinking Lady or Lord? I feel like maybe also Liege if we have a non-binary headmaster as well.
I like that. I think
Yeah.
I feel like they get to choose their mantle, and so
Okay.
whoever we decide is there, we get, they will have chosen Lord, Lady, or Liege.
Yeah, it's just
Sounds
always
good.
of the lake. That's the
Beautiful.
suffix.
Okay.
Is it a suffix or is it a prefix? Yeah, prefix is before suffixes.
Correct. Suffix. So suffixes of the lake.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can do English.
I believe in you.
So this headmaster, what are they named? Do we want them to be maybe human, or what do we want them to be? And what are they best known for in the world?
I feel like they're human because I feel like a theme we're picking up on are these big human families. I think that's something interesting to play. Whether or not this person is from a dignified family or not, I think having them be a human would be cool. Because Nimue was a nymph, but then the person who actually founded it as like an infrastructure school instead of like a private training thing was a human who are. The stereotype could be that they're usually more ambitious than the nymphs are.
Okay, awesome. Okay, they're human. They're very ambitious.
Sales pitch to build off of is if there's a new building, were they the one who paid for it? Are they the one who came in and they're like, we're revamping, let's do it?
Okay, Jake and I had Danny, you were there too, and you were keeping things calm because I went a little off the rails. Do we think maybe this new modern building is a sports pitch? And do we think that this school is trying to make fat cash off of their sports? Like, a lot of modern universities would be like wizard dueling or something like that. Whatever wizard game there is, they built a whole new pitch. The highest paid person at the school is the coach. Does that sound fun to people, or does that sound like it's moving away?
That's a very American thing.
Oh, well,
I'm not opposed to it. I'm not saying no. I'm saying, as you're describing that, I'm like, what in the fuck are you on about? And then I clicked, oh yeah, you're American.
I don't want it to be the whole identity of our game, but I think it'd be really cool to have this school who like pretty much presents themselves like we are so academic. We take a value in things of education, which is true to a point. Okay, Danny, no problem. Oh, actually, let's finish this point and then we can take a break. Academic on the surface, but they highly push their students to go into sports because it's a lot of money. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I also just think prestige is also quite important to schools. Like, Cambridge doesn't get its money from sports, but sure as shit they're gonna keep on pushing the kids into sports because it sounds really good to be like, we have the #1 rowing team in the world, which they keep on bragging about.
So what if this new headmaster is coming in and like trying to shift things like, oh, like let's do more dueling, let's do more sports, let's do things like that, and try to kind of push that. How do you guys feel about that? I'm seeing like Lauren, Danny, what do you guys think?
I mean, that works really well with the character that I've got in mind, so I like the idea of aiming for more sports than there would have been traditionally.
It allows us to play with growing pains.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe some sports that are unfamiliar that come from other cultures, so there's this kind of like adapting.
Okay.
Especially if you want to do the sports for money, taking an American headmaster coming over to England and putting these like hyper fucking competitive sports in, where the English students are all like,
Yeah, I mean, it's not probably going to be a school in England, but it'll be the vibes of like, oh, we're so fancy, we're so.
It's in Avalon. That's
So fancy.
it's in fucking England.
Are we setting it in Avalon, or are we
It's the
setting
Lady of
it?
the Lake, I
We
assume.
were the idea was that we were in the lake of the Lady of the Lake, but that would make us all British, and I'm not doing a British accent.
Well, you
Yeah,
could be from
I'm-
anywhere.
I don't feel
Anywhere.
okay. That's fine. That's fine. Like we can do that. I don't necessarily want it to be like, oh, this is the British school. You know, I don't
Yeah,
want to fall into that trope.
I think just falling into ley lines where would be important for places of magic.
Okay.
Like
It could be interesting to have then an American, so that does establish we are putting this world in the real world, more or less. More or less. Okay, cool. Again, this
'cause there's an
whole
awful.
Go ahead.
I'm saying there's an awful lot of places to like great spiritual and like significance of like mythology, like Mount Olympus, for example, would obviously have an academy built into it.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of the professors are probably going to be pissed about it, to be honest, because they have kind of taught in this school that values education so highly, and a new headmaster, if it is a new headmaster, comes in and kind of tries to change things up, could be a lot of fun.
Again, growing pains. It's like playing with this idea of this school has been run one way for so long, and now everyone, including the faculty, has to get used to what a new normal is. And I think that's a very interesting. If we're shooting for some drama, that's some frickin' drama right there.
If
It
we're
also should
bringing in-
bully. Sorry,
No, go ahead.
not after you.
Just if we're bringing in like an American style headmaster, I'd love to see a name that is very old money America pretentious, like Preston Walker or something
Yeah.
very
Preston
that.
Walker.
I hope you knew that you were essentially just naming our headmaster there. As soon as you said that, all of us were like, yes, what is it?
all right then.
Lord Preston Walker. right.
Lord of the Lake. You know he chose Lord of the Lake.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's super proud of it.
He demands everyone calls him that.
Yeah, like some headmasters are a little bit more lenient about it. Like you can call them like either like Professor Walker or their title. He's like exclusively it's Lord of the Lake.
It's my lord of the Lake. And he lets everyone know
God,
he came
Nicole.
in and he made that stadium.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's known for being rich now.
And he's got to be big, because if he's bringing these American style sports in to try to bring some money, he's got to be like his nickname in college when he played as the giant center was like the 2,000-pound brick, Preston Walker.
So he is
Nickname
known
was
for
the ton.
being wealthy and also a huge sports athlete.
Yeah.
Like a really famous athlete. Okay.
Like
Mhm.
Doug Dimmadome.
Yes.
Yeah. Owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome.
This is not the direction I thought we were going to go, but it's amazing. Okay. Perfect.
We went from like really dark, we're gonna mind wipe civilians, to Doug Dimmadome real quickly.
I love it. Okay. So we're going to take a quick break. About, what do you think, Danny? 15 minutes? Is that enough to?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Cool. And then we will come back.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lauren.
So it sounds like we are going to be making our magical sport next, because that is what everyone is very excited about right now. So we are on brooms for sure.
We're thinking rugby, we're thinking jousting, we're thinking full contact sport.
Yeah, I'm thinking moving away from like the ball aspect of like the sport, because it wouldn't make sense if you're flying ground. I think it's dumb. Because if you drop a ball, that means you're going to go all the way to the ground to pick it up. I'm thinking last one on your broom is the way forward. So it's like wizard dueling and brooms at the same time. Full on cast spells, try to knock the other one off their broom. Like,
how does it distinguish it from dueling then?
I think because it's that rather than it doing it, you're limited what kind of spells you're allowed to use. You can't use the environment. It's exclusively your ability to move out of the way and your ability to like fling spells as like, you know, rapid fire.
So you can't use the environment. So you can't use like I
think it depends. I think like exclusive like a reset arena. So like the environment's standardized.
How do we feel about? Go ahead.
Like every arena will have one tree in the center that you could like twist with like vine magic.
Okay.
Every arena might have like, you know, these 3 pillars that you can use. You know what I mean? But something like set.
Does the arena change?
I'd say yeah, like it makes sense, it's magic.
Maybe the locations of the items change, but the items are constant. Like there's a granite pillar, a sandstone pillar, and a marble pillar. There's a tree that is at least X feet high.
So this is kind of a combination between laser tag and dodgeball.
Yeah, it's dodgeball on brooms.
I would say I would go even further than that. I love all that. I would go so far as to say maybe we should be each team should be stealing something from the other, and so that way they can set up things like defenses. Yeah.
Like capture the flag on brooms.
We're playing capture the flag paintball on brooms with full contact.
Yes.
Is that what we're playing right now?
Yes.
Perfect.
Full contact paintball capture the flag. With a very basic standardized map with variable aspects, so no one can totally plan for what's going to happen. You need to have contingency plans, and in the event of some sort of draw, we pull out jousting on brooms as a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
You have a dead ringer who goes and does some form of jousting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, jousting on brooms is a tiebreaker.
That's like your like free kick. Do you have free kicks in America? Is that a thing?
We have free throws for like basketball.
Nothing's free in America.
Okay, so let's
God.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
Okay, so we are throwing spells at each other, we're changing the environment, we are trying to capture something from the other team, and we are as a tiebreaker. Now when would there be a tie?
If it runs out and neither team has the enemy flag.
Yeah, there should be a time limit.
There should be a time limit.
Yeah, like 90
I also think
matches.
there is a possibility that both teams capture the flag essentially at the exact same time.
Okay.
Like they both just went full, like, I don't know hockey things, but like when they take away their goalie, you just take away your defense and send everyone on offense, but both teams do it at the same time, and then both get back and, you know, cross at virtually the same time. So there can be ties for one of a couple of reasons.
Well,
or
I think that would give a point. I think getting the enemy flag back, because it's magic, the flag could just regenerate. Once you take one, the second it lands in your like scoring, it respawns back here.
So how many times? Okay, so they can capture it multiple times.
Yeah.
All right. And so my question too would be, let's make this more interesting. Let's not just make it flags, right? Because this is magical school. Let's make it something weird.
It fights back.
Let's make it one of the people who showed up. Let's make it one of the people who showed up on campus.
Let's make it like
Let's make it Doug.
like
make
a
it Doug.
sentient construct.
Torturing innocents. Then we're bad guys.
A Gorgon head.
Let's make it Doug.
I think like an animated construct that wants to knock you off your broom too.
I almost feel like it should be a random summon. You don't know what's going to come when you grab the flag.
Mhm.
Like it summons something from another plane. Like you get like a fire elemental, deal with it. Like it's some.
You might get a possum and it just sits there.
Yes.
So the flag turns into a random creature or entity or danger.
But the randomness is, I feel like the randomness has to be standardized.
Yeah.
Like but it's like a seed in a video game. It's preset. So both sides, the first time you go to get the flag, it's going to turn into a possum. And so then I think that adds in an extra mind game of, well, maybe we don't want to be the first person to grab the flag, because then if we're not, we can figure out what it's going to be and plan better than the other team. Like, or we're gonna,
Is there a flag on both sides though?
I think there's a flag in the center, and if it's dropped, it resets.
Because inevitably, I would think there'd be flags on both sides, right? Because if it's the same thing, you're eventually going to have to capture the opossum or whatever it is.
Right.
Okay, I think it's okay. A flag on each side, but once one person takes the opossum, like it counts on both. So if it's like a possum, fire snake, kind of shit rat, flaming skull, slime, like when someone takes the possum on the first one, it goes to fire snake for both.
But then you can't strategize, right? Because
well, you can, because you keep track, you count it. So like you might want to. So we'll put like a difficult one first. It won't be possum. Possum's too easy. Put like flaming skull first. It's going to bite your hand and start burning you.
Okay.
So there is a pattern to how they come out.
Yeah, there's a pattern.
I think it's more fun if it's random. Honestly.
Okay,
hold on.
then it's just random.
I'm also losing the plot. Wait, are we saying that there's one MacGuffin in the middle that they're going for? And so like if team A grabs and starts to run, team B is chasing them? Or is it like traditional capture the flag where each team has a MacGuffin and each team is both having to defend and go after them, theirs and each other's?
I think
it
makes more sense for each team to have one, because that way if it's just one in the middle, everyone's just in the middle.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Is that each person has one, so you have to play offense, defense. You can go full offense and essentially leave your flag totally undefended, but you're going to have overwhelming numbers to go get the opponents. You can play full defense and send a couple sneaky people, but no one, I almost said penetrates your base.
Penetrates better though? Is it better than
it makes more sense than saying it impregnates my base.
Unless someone has like a conjuration magic and like they put a trap down.
So, I mean, agreed again. And then, there's that. I mean, defense is a very wide word here. Defense can mean a lot of things. Yeah, I think it's a pretty cool idea.
So how do you, when you capture the flag,
you
just, you grab it, there's the point, or do you have to bring it back?
I say bring back. You have to transfer it back.
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta deal with this weird screaming little creature.
Exactly.
Do you bring it all the way back to your base, or is there a central point that you take it to?
I would argue all the way back to your own side.
Okay.
So people are constantly going like this.
Yeah.
Like using the entire arena.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. And then you can pass it. You can do all that sort of stuff.
You can throw them. You can throw them a MacGuffin.
I know if there's a rule for this. Teleportation magic to get the thing. I'm assuming teleportation magic is banned. You cannot just go, I grab the flag and I teleport it back to my side.
Yeah, I assume teleportation's banned.
It is shut down.
Teleportation banned. Awesome.
And I think there are rules against like launching it. Like you can't just launch whatever it is across the map. Yeah. It needs to stay in physical contact with someone from your team, unless it is being, they'll have rules about how far a pass can go or things. I
think you can throw it. I just think it can't land on the ground and someone else pick it up. I think the second it lands on the ground, it just dissipates.
Oh, sure. I like that. As soon as it lands on the ground, it dissipates.
And the arena is so large, I don't think anyone's going to be able to chuck it and it just flies across.
I don't know. Magic is magic.
Magic is magic. You could try, but if you chuck it and you're chucking it hundreds of feet, somebody can just grab it, right?
Or someone just casts like a random levitate spell on it.
That's true.
Steals it.
Good point. What is the name of this sport?
I don't know. I hadn't thought that far ahead. I just thought it'd be cool to have like flying laser tag.
Did this sport originate in America?
Yes. It feels very American.
So let's think of an American name.
This is the most American sport I've ever heard of.
I got one. Like,
Oh.
okay, you know, like the word brewski? What about broomskis? No, not
I
really.
hate it.
Broomski. I feel like that's the kind of people who play this game. Like they call themselves the Broomskis.
Yeah.
Or like
I was
something
gonna go
with,
full British and name it something like empirical or conquer or something like that.
Honestly, it could be a British sport, but I think we didn't monetize it.
I also think you would have less lasers involved in it. I think you probably had a very polite version with croquet hoops.
Have you ever played rugby, Deanna?
I know that you sling yourselves at each other, but how many serious
Fencing.
life-altering concussions do you get?
Lots.
How about let's say, because we've talked about how the MacGuffin, the flag, is going to turn into something. What if you have to capture a certain number, like you always have to capture the opposing flag 3 times, and the first 2 or 4 times, the first whatever's are random, but the last thing it turns into is always a bat, and they call the sport Cap the Bat.
Cap the Bat.
Cap the Bat.
That's a very American name, but
I'm just trying to, like, that's a
it.
dumb enough name that's like, you know what? And
It
allows.
I'm not saying that's a
Cap the
bad
Bat.
thing.
Okay. So you said 4 times, or
I don't know.
5?
I would say 4 is probably. I feel like 3 is too little, because I don't know. I would say 3 or 4 times is the number of like times you have to capture. And again, if like people tie, that's how you get ties. But you have to, you get 2 random. It can be literally anything, but the last one is always a bat of some kind. Sometimes it's a giant fruit bat. Sometimes it's this tiny little cave bat. And again, it's just the fact that it can fly, it can wiggle around, it might try to bite you. Like, it's just, that's a really difficult, stupid little thing to hang on to.
Okay. I love that. Okay. Cap the Bat. Okay, so I would say, as far as rules are concerned, so we said teleportation is banned, right? And I imagine the other thing about this is, like, again, if we're going for the whole magic is hardcore thing, are we obviously no like killing spells in the arena, but if you shoot somebody with a fireball, say, and they fall off their broom and they severely injure themselves, that's just the way the game goes, right? I would assume that's like the mentality.
It's full contact.
I imagine if healing. Go ahead, Deanna.
Oh, I was just going to say, that seems like the American mentality that the headmaster would be bringing in, that maybe some of the students are like, are you sure? And he's like, all is fair in love and Cap the Bat.
Well, and I can imagine that, especially if healing magic is advanced, like if it's something that's doable, like the thought of like, listen, just don't kill each other. We can fix everything else.
Yeah, if you
just, like,
break
do what you're
18
gonna
bones.
And there have been people who have died in Cap the Bat. Maybe not in our school, but Lauren's character
100%.
knows.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, people have died in boxing or rugby. It happens. It's not ideal, but it's an unfortunate side effect of the fun.
Sure, people love to see it. Okay. So we have
It's a
our
fortunate
sports.
side effect of the fun.
Cool. And dueling, I imagine, in this world is a lot more prim
Refined
and proper.
and,
Refined.
Very
It's very
formal,
specific
yeah.
rules.
It's very fencing. You've got your duelist robe you've got to wear.
You go into
You stand on the
duelist
line.
club, and they go do 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 do. Everyone's wearing their little outfits.
You both walk up to the line. You both take a bow. You walk back to your line, and then you take formation, and then you begin.
And you
Okay.
intercut that with scenes of the broomskis going, yeah! over each other's heads.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so we have our sport. Anything else we want to add? Because I think that sounds pretty good.
Mandatory attendance. If you don't go to the game, you get detention.
Mandatory attendance.
If you're not good enough to be on the team, you have to be good enough to cheer our team on.
Amen.
Spirit.
I love this plan. How big's our school?
We're thinking it's like fair, like medium sized. It's not a huge school, but let's see.
A couple of hundred, a good few hundred people.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. Just trying to
maybe.
figure out how big the stadium has to be to like fit every student.
Well, that's the thing. Our school doesn't necessarily have to be large, but they probably invite all sorts of people to come if that's like something they're trying to get money from.
Do we have multiple teams at our school, or are we competing against other schools?
Think other
That's a
schools.
good question.
How many people are on a team?
I'm gonna say probably smaller games. You guys are competing against other. Okay, so you guys are going to be sorted into covens. So I'm guessing you guys are going to go against other covens. Teams are probably of 5 because a coven is 5 people. To me,
Oh,
that
I
makes
would.
sense.
I bet if we're playing, yeah.
Because you
I
want
feel
to
like for a
control.
sport this drastic, though, if we're playing with a bigger area, like I push. This is again. I'll use Jake's phrase. I don't even know what he said anymore. I forgot, but I'm just pitching an idea. Like I was thinking, like 10 to 12 people. Like you want to have a good amount of people to play around with, to have either overwhelming numbers one way or the other, to have like these bigger teams that are 5 just seems really small for such a
I'm gonna
big
make the
team.
pitch. I think teams of 5 for schoolyard skirmishes and for training. I think in terms of our actual competitive team that we're going to compete against other schools with, doing it a coven, because I mean, this is the coach speaking now, but you're really going to have a magical theory student go up on the national stage? No.
But that's the thing. So with like if you're versing each other within the school, yes, it's going to be coven versus coven because everyone should know how to play this game. It's extremely important. Yes, like if we're having tournaments as far as fighting other schools, but you guys also have to think gameplay wise. I don't want to be excluding people who are mostly brains, not brawn, as far as stats goes. That's why I would prefer. The other thing about that is if we have like a team of like 10 to 12 people, that's a lot of people per team. That's a lot of people to keep track of within the game as we're playing it.
That's true.
That's what I think. Because if you're a 5-knit, a tight knit group, you should be able to know what you're doing. Magically speaking, like you should be effective, right? As a team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's definitely a good point for sure.
I think if we do plan to do other schools, like going against other schools, then yeah, we can explore that concept as far as making a large school team and like doing tryouts for that. But I think as of right now, teams going up against each other within the school.
Well, I think
and I definitely agree with that. Like team v team, and I feel like it's almost a game of ratios. Like I can imagine standard layout is 2 defense, 2 offense, 1 float. Someone just goes around and figures out what their team needs. But then when you get on a larger scale, when you can get to 10 people, it's like 4-4-2. And then if you get to even like when you get to the world, theoretically the world stage or the World Cup, whatever then it's like teams of 15 or 2. Like you get these massive stages with massive, and that's part of it is just when you're having to deal with more teammates, that's part of the challenge of like that's what makes it harder as you get more professional, is that you have to become more specialized for your role. But as we're dealing with the amateur team, it's like nope, 5v5, like this is the easiest place to start. I think that's a cool idea to separate the bigger teams from the local stuff.
I want to throw a question specifically to Lauren and Danny, because I feel like Tessa and Josh and I have been very gung-ho about the sports. How much do we want the sports to play into the plot of the game? Is that something that sounds fun to people? We want to go full sports anime? Or is this is a thing we take part in, but it's not a central part of the story?
I think for me, it's something we take part in, but it's not the central part of the story.
Yeah, I think despite being an athletic character, I don't think I'm going to want to like be in the sport itself quite so much. But it makes sense that if the headmaster is pushing this, then yeah, it's a thing that we're going to have to do, whether it's our thing or not.
So I'm just going to say this is not going to be a sports anime. I'm just going to establish that right freaking now. This is a magic school. The sports play into the politics of the magic school. Yes, we will be playing the game, but it will not be every single session. And it will probably be 1 or 2 games for the entire season, and the rest is going to be talking about it or just how it influences the politics between people, because we still want to explore like classes and detention and all that. We are not focusing on as much as I love sports anime, and it's not happening.
I like that the way we seem to have built this is now we have a built-in in-game reason to always have access to almost everybody else in the school, because we have to go to every game. Everybody in the school is required to go to every, or depending on what shenanigans we get into, we have a built-in distraction. If we're gonna go do shit and everyone's gonna be at this game, like I just feel like that's the narrative device we've built, and also have fun ways to describe the game and find something to do during the game. I like the way we've built this.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And who knows, our attentions may shift as season 2 comes around or whatever, we don't necessarily know what's going to happen yet. Okay, so we have the sport. Let's go back to things like the color, mascot, and uniform of our school. What's our colors?
Blue.
There needs to be like blues and golds.
Blues
Okay,
and
Excalibur's
golds.
gold, lakes are blue.
I'm good with that.
How many
For me
different
personally.
covens are there?
So to make it manageable, I think there's going to be 9, 3 for
okay.
each year. Yeah, that's why I was thinking, I'm like, the school isn't super large in that sense, but
Yeah.
to make sure that we don't go crazy when it comes to NPCs. We could make it a larger school and just have,
We just don't meet all of them.
yeah, these are the
These
9
are the
central
relevant ones who are
covens.
in our classes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to figure out how, like, I was seeing how many colors we should try to implement into our crest or into the sigil.
But this is
9's a
also,
lot.
if we want this to be a prestigious school, there's not going to be a bunch of people in it, right? Because it's going to be...
Yeah, well, if it's 9 per coven, not 9 covens, sorry.
5.
That'd be like only 9 people for each major. Because if each coven is a different major, that'd be quite low. So I feel like maybe we know 9, but there's like probably like 30 covens total for a year. Because then that's like
maybe
100.
we only know like 1 of the senior ones, 2 of the ones above us, then we know a lot.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Because if it's like 20 to 30 covens a year, then there's like a couple of hundred kids in a class, which you kind of get in universities. You have that like lecture style where it's like, the teacher and like 150 kids sat there, pulling out the head, playing on the phone.
That makes sense.
Totally taking notes and paying attention to.
And I think the mascot has to be the Lady of the Lake. Like there has to be some depiction of the lady.
The lady holding Excalibur.
Yeah.
It's her rising from the lake with Excalibur.
Hundo P. Which begs the question, I feel like then if we're going to put it on the sigil like this, like, I mean, again, I like this as a rough sketch, but do we maybe invert the way that sigil is colored and say blue would be the water underneath, gold is like the horizon or the sunrise, and then we have her rising from the water in some third color?
That makes sense.
Because I like the split. I like the way that was split. I just think we need to find a way to split it like that. Yeah, something along these lines where we have her rising from the lake with Excalibur, whether we just put it in black, if it's off in the distance, it's her very small. Is she prominent? I don't know how people feel about.
Is she holding the sword? Like, is the sword in the picture?
I
think the sword should be, based on what we've talked about so far. Would be my thought.
Okay.
If only because everyone's familiar with the mythology of the Lady of the Lake, they don't need to know that we actually have the real Excalibur.
Right.
Yeah.
Because then we would be in
I guess that's
probably.
a good point. Does everyone know that she has Excalibur? Because if not, I feel like she would not have the sword.
I feel like she still have a sword because it's still a common mythology. It's still a common symbol.
That's true. Sure. So she's rising from the water holding Excalibur. It's a...
Maybe
cool. Yep, I like that idea.
Maybe that's a rumor that we have, that students are like, ooh, the headmaster has the sword.
Deanna, I like what you're doing. Making the sword and then putting her within it. I think that sounds kind of cool.
I was going to have just her hands coming down here and holding
That's also kind of cool.
That is also very cool.
Yeah, I think the hands is a really cool way of doing it. I like your idea.
Another option is to put her kind of rising within it, like, woohoo. just a spirit there, like, hey guys.
Yeah, or not even like I mean you're
I think I like the hands because the other part looks like a cross. I'm sure the sword looks
Yeah.
more like a sword, but it just
Yeah,
gives
no,
me
it's
cross
just
vibes.
it's a thing. Yeah. Do-do-do. Oh, now I have to draw a hand
I
on.
was gonna say hands are hard, man.
You know.
Yep, I like
We
that
know there's a
plan.
hand there.
Yeah. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. What's the problem?
We're just gonna watch Deanna do this. Let's wait. Let's let Deanna.
Now, Deanna, we're not moving on till you get this hand perfect. So here we go.
It looks
This is nice.
beautiful.
Thank you.
GM, save us. Here we go.
Okay, so next question. We have our amazing sigil. And so now we want our uniform. I'm going to
You
pitch.
informed me that we have little capes.
I know, I was going to pitch. I want capelets. I think for our baby witches. I think capelets are cute. I also think it helps distinguish. It can help distinguish years. So you guys are first years. So I was thinking like pure black for the first years, lined in gold maybe for the second years, and the third years lined in gold or lined in blue. What do you guys think? With gold stars?
Ooh.
Ooh,
I
I
like
kind of
that.
like that. Yeah.
I like that.
Okay. And we'll incorporate the blue and the yellow. It'll be
Mhm.
fun. But you guys haven't earned your stars yet, which is why you're
Nah,
pure
nah,
black
nah.
capelets. And I think too, it might be interesting. Like it's always supposed to be very traditional, formal, like button up, sweater vest, very similar to that. But maybe with the headmaster coming in, maybe people will be
Friggin'
like,
yoga pants and sweat shorts are making their way back into the.
I think it'll depend on the professor too. The professor
Mm-hmm.
will some of the professors will be like, no, you have to wear your uniform while you're in my
Yeah.
class. Like this is so offensive right now. And then the headmaster will be like, it's fine. Who cares?
Mhm.
Like, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah.
And maybe
I like that idea.
The cap the bat uniform is more sort of traditional sportswear, like leggings or joggers and a sweatshirt or something like that. And if your team is playing that week, you get to wear
Oh, hello.
your uniform.
Sailor.
Hello.
Hello, sailor.
He's coming with me. Thank
But
you.
kind of like how cheerleaders will
Is
wear
that just
their
our
cheer
that's our
uniforms.
crest right there. Just copy paste. There we
That's
go.
just it right there.
Damn.
Okay, if your team
Lord
is
of the
playing that
Lake.
week, then you
Then-
get to wear your uniform all week, you think?
Yeah.
Ooh, I actually love that.
I love that too, because it's like people get all jealous. Like, I want to wear
Yeah.
that. It looks all comfy. So we're thinking you said shorts and like
Shorts or leggings, like some sort of like that bright blue pant, and then a more basic like sweatshirt type top. So it's very sporty, very
Okay.
easy to sneak around in if you need to. Probably a couple of options for it because different
For the centaur student.
positions.
is there
Yeah,
any
well-
kind of like team? Do we just have the crest, the school crest on it, or do we have some kind of like team symbol, like a wand and a sword crossed or something? What do we, is it just the crest, do you think?
I think just the school crest.
Okay.
And then maybe like on the back, you've got your, I don't know if the covens have specific names, but you could have like your coven name or
Mhm.
your name.
Cool, cool, cool. All right.
One other question I did have is if we are in a university, are we always going to be in uniform? 'Cause obviously, quite frequently, I don't know about America.
After class, you
We-
can do casual.
Okay. 'Cause-
Mhm.
Okay, makes sense.
That way you can still have your own kind of style and everything, and you can express your character's fashion in that
Mhm.
way. Wow, guys, we've been over a lot already, and I still have okay. Okay. I think we kind of answered one of our favorite magical pastimes is a combination of I feel like we did that with the sport. Do we have any other type of pastimes that we want? Any kind of hobbies or
Is there wizard chess? Are there nerd hobbies? What do the nerds do?
Now they play sports. It's court
They have to
mandated.
play sports.
I think traditionally probably there could be some kind of chess game. There could be some kind of game like that. There could be I'm assuming there's going to be clubs as well.
Mhm.
Clubs are huge.
Can we create like I'm thinking of like the nerdiest thing, or like the old like an old nerdy thing. I've never played bridge, but like a wizard version of bridge, whatever that is.
A bridge. Okay.
I will learn to play bridge.
That is like known to be like an older game.
Freaking wizard cribbage or something.
Yeah.
So combination of bridge and magic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And magic
Okay.
tiddlywinks.
Is that what it's called?
What? No, tiddlywinks is like where you got like the little coins and like you press another coin into the coin and like, you flip up to the cup.
It's kind of
Okay.
like Jacks.
What?
Did you guys ever play Jacks?
Yes.
Yeah. But that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay, then I didn't understand your description of Tiddlywinks at all.
Okay, so like you have
It's kind of more
counters,
like Pogs.
a little bit like Pogs. A little bit like Pogs.
Totally poggers.
I'm
And-
sitting at 0% over here.
It kind of reminds me of beer pong. Like there will be beer pong, totally nerdy
Yeah.
sport, right?
That what I get.
Okay.
I get
It's
that
gotta
reference.
be mead pong.
Mead
it's gotta-
pong.
Be mead pong at wizard school.
Hmm
Mead pong. Oh, potion roulette is definitely a thing.
Potion roulette is
And I
definitely
am
a thing.
very good
Absolutely
at that.
a thing. Oh yes. Okay.
Competitive like tarot reading.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
How do you tarot read competitively?
Because it's wizarding, so like the tarots do things like, immediately.
Divination readings in general would be
Yeah.
pretty cool. Okay.
Like competitive divinations definitely be a thing.
Okay, we've got a lot of those. Let's move on to okay, let's see what else we got. A notable landmark in the school is we did the lake.
The lake.
That's the lake. Is there anything
I feel
else?
the lowest level of the school, like nobody goes there, is actually where it's like lodged into the bottom of the lake. So it's both under the lake and underground, fully the dungeon.
And they
Mhm.
call it the trench.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's where we put all the humans, just the
Oh,
the
we
monos.
don't keep
Where we put all the Dougs.
So
All the
do we
real thugs.
have okay, so for like dorm rooms, we have other buildings, right? Like we've established there's a modern building, right? That the headmaster
I imagine the
built.
living quarters fall into the newer. I don't know. I feel like as I imagine this, it's like mostly the school buildings where we're doing classes is more the older side, and then like maybe even some of the cafeteria we've kept the same, some of the storage areas we've kept the same, but when it comes to like needing to house the amount of people, they've needed to expand and therefore have like they've built buildings as living quarters versus keeping the OG classrooms, the OG, maybe some public spaces are still the OG stuff, but I guess as I've pictured this, it's been new
So-
buildings have been livable spaces.
I guess I'm just trying to imagine. So we've got the castle in the middle of the lake, right? Is this an
Mhm.
island full of other buildings as well, or are the buildings on the outside of the lake?
I think on the outside.
I feel like I have the strangest pitch. I feel
Oh.
like it's almost an exploit of how magic works. Like, oh, since we made the castle invisible, we can keep that magic as long as it's touching the castle, it works. So like they've got really strange, almost like either supported magically or just coming out of the side of the upper towers of the buildings. They've built wings up out of the water on land that are kind of like, this is the ugliest thing imaginable. But so you've got your main central building here, right?
Mhm.
And then you've got another building coming out here. This looks like he's flexing.
So
like-
we've got pieces coming out.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's kind of like it's the whole buildings, but they're floating above the water almost because they need to be attached to the part that becomes invisible.
Yeah. But then when the tide goes down at night, it's like Amano would look at that and go, "Oh my God, how is that supporting that? Like that shouldn't be possible, but it's just
But magic.
it's magic." And so
Okay.
it's like it literally is like these attached. So in the evenings, there are like bridges that are holding that are like spanning this. Like you have walkways almost, or it's just like
Yeah, and that's how you get to and from class as well, is
Yeah.
through those walkways.
yeah.
Okay.
Whether it's
These
submerged or
boardwalks
not.
that turn into skyways in the evening because there's just
Mhm.
you've lost the water underneath you.
Okay.
Or we'll just swim and then take the skyways when on the way home.
Easy.
Do we want to have? Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm gonna go fucking nuts again. Sorry. If we have kind of like this ring of buildings coming out from the side of the thing, then from above, what you have is essentially, if that's the main building, then you've got buildings coming like this and this and this and this and this, and with that bridge around, you have a big arena of water in the middle. Do we want that to be the sports arena there? That's where we hold things.
I feel like that these other buildings have been there too long for that to be the sports arena.
Okay, that makes sense.
So then, where exactly is our arena? Is it in that area at all, or is it off
I
off the
imagine-
lake?
Off.
Yeah, I imagine
I
it's
think it needs to be
off.
off the lake.
Like where there would be a wood, there's like still
Yeah.
the woods there, and it's just basically like a glamoured woods. If you go inside
Yeah.
the woods, it's just the arena.
Okay.
Well, because it sounds like we're saying there's varying terrains, right? Like maybe one of them is a giant fucking swamp, but then there's also a forest, there's a desert, there's a, there's hills, there's mountains like that. Like the arena is big enough that we need space to be able to adapt to that.
Okay, so we have the lake and the central part of the school with all the castle and all of the different wings where the classrooms and astronomy
Mhm.
tower and all that is done. And then outside the lake, we've got a forest that stretches out, and on the edge of the lake itself, we have the arena, which we
Mhm.
know is built recently because the priority has become the arena.
Money, money,
We
money.
have to set aside so much money, not just to build that building, but to also constantly keep it invisible while they were building it, the glamours for doing it, because it's not attached to the main building.
Yeah.
It's a fucking thing.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay, cool. So we got those landmarks. Is there anything else you guys want as far as the landmarks go? Okay.
No, I feel like I want a town accessible.
Okay.
Like, I think it'd be cool to have like interactions in a like just normalish town.
Yeah, we can have like a small village or town that's magical outside of it. Maybe that's where people go to get to the shops and like they vacation on the weekends there. Could do that.
Mhm.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, it's like a local town that helps build the cover. Well, I don't know. I guess this is when we have to. I feel like this is that question though. Is there a different town that the clueless Doug comes from, whose memory
Yeah, it's
we're
separate
wiping?
town.
But then there's like one actual local village that has no idea that magic is a thing. But then on like the other side, there's a separate place that is like a little town that is aware that magic exists, helps keep our cover,
Mhm.
and is like a little retreat area for
Yeah.
students and faculty.
They're like a magical village. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. All right, let's all go around and share a fact or rumor about what's currently going on at the school. It can be a rumor, it doesn't have to be true. But it can be. Let's start with Tess.
Oh, good lord. Hi. I did not have an immediate answer. The school has to earn like X amount of money from the what do we can name it? What do we name the sport?
Cap the bat.
Tap the bat.
Cap the bat. The reason it's so pressured in is because we are running out of money to keep the illusions up. So we have to earn that money from this, or else the school's going to be closed.
Okay, awesome. All right, next, Danny.
Is this school in general, or can it be about someone at the school?
It can be somebody at the school.
Oh, because I'm just reading all sorts of dramatic crap lately. The charms teacher is having an affair with Lord Walker.
Oh.
Shit.
Like an affair is an extramarital or just romantic?
Extramarital.
Ooh, scandal.
Oh, no.
His wife doesn't know about this.
Oh no.
His wife or
His
the
wife.
Gotcha.
The charms teacher's wife doesn't know about this.
Oh, charms
Ooh.
teacher. Oh.
Mhm.
Okay. That's not good. Maybe the charms teacher's wife is another teacher. So they're all there.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh no. Okay. All right, Deanna.
I heard that students were being accepted to the school who didn't pass the entrance exams just because Professor or Lord Walker wanted them to be on his Cap the Bat team.
Oh, they're taking all the good stuff.
Are there entrance exams? It's like super prestigious and elite, right?
There's definitely entrance exams.
Yes.
And they absolutely failed them. And it was like, you
Now there are.
passed.
It's got a 50%. I got half of it. Okay. Lauren.
Trying to think of something. What? I watch enough political like satire. I should. I had an idea for principal, but I don't want to overdo it with the principal.
Oh, we all hate him, so it's fine.
It's true, maybe there's a lot of rumors.
We can come up with more.
Yeah.
Well, my thought was with the principal, the only reason he got the job was because he blackmailed the previous headmaster, and no one knows what happened to the old headmaster.
Ooh.
Which
Very.
spurs off just a trail of rumors as to I heard he jumped off a cliff, or I heard that he ran away to Portugal. Like that's just like a rabbit hole in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right.
Can I do another rumor just because I have many ideas, or will you?
Well, let's get Josh, and then we'll circle back around to you.
Rumor is someone's starting a new secret society. No one actually knows what it is yet, and no one knows how you get invited or accepted. But rumor is there's this new secret society on campus that it's kind of hot talk.
I love that.
Okay. What it is yet? All right, Deanna.
So there are no naiads left in this lake, but the rumor is that there's a large coalition of naiads who don't think the Lady of the Lake's home, but should be in human hands.
Whoa. Okay. But do they believe there should be a school there at all?
I don't know. That's all I heard.
Election of okay.
It shouldn't belong to humans at the very least.
Okay. Naiad only school. Okay. Awesome. Does anyone have any others? If not, we're gonna move on.
I mean, it's also the standard one of someone is doing some form of forbidden magic, like necromancy. Someone's trying to raise the lost loved one.
Do we have forbidden magic? Is necromancy?
I don't know.
I imagine there's absolutely forbidden magic, because if there are secret societies, there definitely
there's
is
definitely
forbidden magic.
There's blood magic and summoning and necromancy. They have to exist.
I know this is kind of off topic, but I do really like the political implications of maybe there are where my character is from, necromancy is extremely frowned upon.
Mm-hmm.
Where your character's from? Okay, it's extremely. That would make sense.
Because
it's not natural.
Souls from riding the boat, man. Gotta ride the boat.
Okay.
And some magic is exclusive. Some people allowed to cast certain types of magic.
The more and more I think about this character,
but I think
I relate to Esper.
Okay, so let's see. We've got a lot here. Is everyone still okay on time?
I have no idea what time it is, but yeah.
I can do 30 more minutes.
30 more minutes?
Yeah, about that.
Okay, then let's move on to how do you guys feel? Do you guys want to keep world building or do we want to move on to character creation? Because character creation might just happen off screen if we want to keep world building.
Are there a lot more questions still to go through on your end about how to build out the world? I mean,
I have name a club that exists at the school,
mhm.
and I was going to have everyone make a teacher, but we don't have to do that if we don't have time.
I don't feel personally I agree. I have about a half hour left. I am okay if characters are not made on screen. If people get introduced to characters off, like they just get introduced, and unless there's people who are super thrilled about seeing the process of character building, I'm fine doing that off screen, even if we all just get together to do it off screen and not and then we could just finish out the world building and then say peace late, because I also don't want to rush the character building process in 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we can also do a mini meeting in the future if you guys do want to make characters together. Just if the process, if you do want to do the process together, we definitely can do that. Okay, then we'll just close out the world building. All right. And let's do the clubs first. So name a club that exists at the school. We're gonna go round robin with that again. Let's go, Deanna.
I'm gonna say Experimental Potions Club. It's mostly weed, but they do other experiments.
Okay. Lauren.
I'm not ready. I'm thinking.
Oh, okay. Josh. We'll come back around to you.
Yeah, sure. I think that there is I guess just I'll take one of the low-hanging fruit here. There's easily a like old card game, like there's a gaming club of some kind. If I was at the school, I would have started that club. Just like whatever games are allowed, I imagine, because video games aren't allowed, there's a lot of like tabletop RPG style games that kids like to play, that the college kids like to play, or again, just like it ranges from cribbage, bridge, that kind of stuff, like true card games, all the way up to these, tabletop RPGs or games that include a ton of magic. I think there's like a solid games club.
And it could also be mono games too.
Yeah, 100%.
People who are super into that. Okay, Danny.
I want to go with assisted cheerleading, where it's finding ways to incorporate magic into the cheerleading that is not necessarily quite what they're used to in the monoculture.
Okay, so cheerleading but with magic, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I just want it noted, I've written on my character sheet president of Experimental Potions Club, just so everyone I think we all know the character I'm playing, so that just feels right to me.
You can aspire to that.
Yeah, we can talk about that, but
okay, Tess.
Okay, I feel like in any system like this, there has to be like a mono-born club for people who they just like on like their 17th birthday, they were like talking with their friends and like they did like a cool finger gun, and suddenly a tree set on fire, and they're like, "What the fuck?" Is then talking like a mono support group.
Wait, hold on. This does beg a question. I thought the way we built the world said that there wasn't anyone who just developed powers out of nowhere. You had to be accidentally stumble upon it or be invited in.
Yeah,
so
I think
that's
you could
the
do
thing.
The right hand gesture.
If you are like in a very concentrated area with magic, sometimes it happens.
Gotcha. Okay.
And sometimes Magical Society has to step in if that's the case.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, Lauren.
You're the waiting room. Hello, iPhone.
I think it might be cool to have some sort of, I don't like the name, but like a garden club, but it's like plants
like botany?
Sentient. Yeah, like a botany club. Like a mix of like magical creatures.
I'm adding Nayora's character sheet.
So would that just be like an extra curricular natural magic club? Is that like, because natural magic is like magical beasts and botany, magical plants.
Or I was thinking it was either that or I was thinking like a chandelier club where you make ritualistic candles.
Ooh.
I think that's cute because I can definitely see that happening. Ritual
Why are you laughing at my
Ritualistic.
club, Dean?
Ritual Magic Club.
Candle making club. That's so cute.
I feel like Ritual Magic Club, I feel like that's the type of club where we're making candles. And then it's like, actually, we're like studying demonology, but just, under the
We're
guise
making
of.
candles. Everybody put your blood in the wax. I like the idea of like, I would almost call it the nursery club where you're like, it's going to be a very intensive year-long project to raise this mandrake root that keeps screaming at you. I think like more than you can cover in a single semester. It's like a full of year. It's almost like a lab because this is a
A
university
lab. Yeah, that makes sense.
horticulture lab.
Yeah, like you pick up a basilisk and you gotta be really careful never to look it in the eyes.
Okay, awesome. Got all the clubs ready to go.
But it's only a baby, so it's just gonna like, knock you unconscious.
Is there a magical graduate school? Are there master's students here?
Yes.
It's not at this college, probably. No, it's
But
probably you would move on to being probably under a very talented
under
Chromas.
the Walker, of course.
Yes.
Yeah,
Everybody wants to be his apprentice. Okay.
I know the charms teacher does. All right, what's your next?
Yes. Okay. So let's go over the classes real quick that we have because we're going to be making a few unconventional classes. That's one of the things. So, defensive and combat magic, history of magic, elementary alchemy and potions, divination. You're not taking all these, by the way. It's just mono sciences. I did add that as one. We can either take it or leave it. I don't know if that's something our school would even value at all. Classification of magical beasts and plants, mind magic, brooms, which will probably just end up being Cap the Bat, ritual and theoretical summoning arts, transfiguration, and then somewhere in there I'll either add charms or I will assign that charms teacher who is going to have an affair. I'll assign them somebody, some other subject. What other? I added ethics of magic because that's one we were talking about frequently. What other unconventional classes are we wanting to do?
So this is specifically for the freshman classes, right?
It can be. It doesn't have to be, but yes, it can be. We're probably only going to add a few, so let's talk about it and see what makes the most sense.
I think history of different magical races, the different civilizations that have housed magic and their history.
Okay, so you think that'll be like a...
I feel like that's a 200 or 300 level class that you have to take history of magic first, or a mono history.
I don't know what that. Okay, I'm English, so that's not how class structure works over here. What do you mean?
That means you take it at a
higher level. So like a 100 level class would
Okay.
be freshman level. So you
Would
have to
be-
have taken that 100 level class to take the 200 level, the 100 level communications to take 200 level communications to take 300 level communications.
Let's
Okay.
think about like I don't think we've talked about the disciplines yet. Like
Yeah,
what
not yet.
would the disciplines need and be taking? Like natural sciences would probably need that introduction to magical beasts and plants.
Mhm.
Magical zoology and botany.
Mhm.
I think there has to be a fundamentals of magical theory that is just a math class for me to take. What are the other ones? We have a potions class. Can you go over what the disciplines are, Danny?
So we've got natural magic, which encompasses magical beasts, botany, natural earth and all its properties. We have evocation, which is divination, spirit communication, and ritual magic. It's probably where the summoning would come in. Let's see, ritual and theoretical summoning arts. Alchemy and artificery. So we have an alchemy class. We have elemental magic. So I know I was saying defensive and combat magic probably would be good for elemental, but we can add another one for that if we want to. And
Oh, did we say there's a dueling club? Because there has to be a dueling club. There's absolutely a dueling club.
There will definitely be a dueling club. Don't worry about that.
I have a very boring class that I imagine a very academic would make their students take.
Okay.
Like in the medical field, when I have to, like part of my education early on was learning essentially how to read studies, like how to look at how to figure out if a study was legit, sample sizes and and what was the end value to determine whether or not it was like clinically significant. I feel like this school, because it has a big focus on academics, would have a class that would teach you what is the correct, like across the board proven way to make an experiment, get that experiment approved, how to write an experiment, perform an experiment appropriately, and then how to document the findings of your experiment, and then read other people's papers on experiments to figure out if they did a bogus experiment or a correct one. Like the same style academic, like we're going to teach you how to do this so that you can do your own write-ups in the future, and how you can, like, we're going to make you do those things so you can be heady academic types who can read papers and understand what these experiments were supposed to do and what they weren't.
Like a Principles of Science class, but for magic.
Principles of magic.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Something along those lines, absolutely.
I feel like that would be under Introduction to Magical Theory, because that's like, here's what you need to know in order to do any kind of magic at all. Principles of magic.
Sure. Maybe this would be, again, I apologize, Tess, to use this again, but like this, what I'm talking about would be like the next level up. Like for anyone who's considering a career in academia within the magical community, like you need to know there is and maybe it's like a half credit class. Like it's not a full semester, it's not a full whatever, but like you take this for half and you end up, learning how to do all of these specific things about learning how to. Just a thought. If that sounds way too boring,
it does sound like it would
necessary,
be included in fundamentals of magical theory, I think, because that is basically what magical theorists do. They do studies and they learn how to write papers and stuff. And I think the way we're going to do classes is that all of you will have classes that you take together, but you will each be picking 3 classes that you can put marks in for the semester. And so I will post the classes in the Discord. You guys can go through and pick which ones, because that'll determine how you get your stat raises. But just for flavoring's sake, yeah, we can definitely add that too. Ethics of math. Okay.
Hi, everybody. I'm back. Can I sales pitch one if it hasn't been discussed?
Sure.
What about like artifacts of magic or artifacting? If I don't know if you're going to use wands or whatever our spell focus in theory could be, but maybe there's a class devoted specifically to the creation of what your focus is.
I like that, because there is, artificery and potions, alchemy is together, so artifacts would make sense. Okay. All right.
I'd love to see a weather class.
Ooh, I like that.
Like,
it's very elemental magic specifically with like air and water and
manipulation of weather as well.
Yeah.
Like possibly like evocation and divination.
Like they force you to sit through the meteorology part of the class because they want you to understand it before you manipulate it. But then you send bolts of lightning from the sky. That's cool.
Danny made me think of one just now. Can there be a class that's all about how to hide your magic from the non-magical people? It's like, all right, let me teach you how to be a carny. Let me teach you how to like do tarot readings but still cast magic. Like, how do you do these cool hidden
I feel
things?
like that's part of ethics of magic. Half of it is how to lie.
Yeah, that can definitely be part of ethics, or even monosciences, depending on if we want monosciences included. The ethics makes sense. There's probably several different layers of ethics of magic. It's such a huge subject. Okay, anything else?
Are we calling things like magizoology, or would it be chromazoology? Are we going with chroma as the thing for everything?
I think chroma would be the thing.
Chroma,
If that's how we're going to just stick my names.
Cool. It's just such a condescending term for everything. We just live our lives in color.
Yeah,
The
'cause
magical society is
mono-
very, very condescending.
we have mono sciences, dude.
Okay, so let us move on. Then we've got our classes. It's a pretty good list. I think we're going to go over one more thing, which is if you guys would like, I was going to have you guys make some professors. You can pick even one of the classes to assign them to, because I know Danny was saying a really interesting one with like involving the headmaster. I think that's fun. And just to go over with our audience, we do have different races, so you can pick different races for the professors as well. Some of the ones that you can pick as a PC include mer people, vampires, werewolves, nymphs, humans, but and also demigods. We have a demigods more or less. So also you can pick something like a centaur, satyrs, things like that. You can get cool with it. So let's go ahead and make a professor, each of you. So it can be as easy as this professor is this, his name is this, and he's known for this, and he teaches this. Yes, Deanna.
I would like to make the charm professor's wife the ethics of magic teacher, who is a werewolf. And she used to have some anger control issues, but she's been working on them for a long time. She knows how to control her wolfish side. She's a very dignified, calm woman.
I can see this not blowing up at all.
Yeah, not going to be a problem. Not at all.
Right.
No problems.
No drama would ever come here.
And her
Okay.
name?
Yes, what's her name?
Let me think. I'm like, her name is Luna Lupin, but that's what's the most wolfish I can get here. Come back to me on that one. I'm gonna have to think about it.
We're here to embrace stereotypes, not break them.
Okay, who's next? Who wants to go next?
My idea was for the... Yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So my idea was going to be for the ethics of science, so I'm out. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Pick another class. It's fine. We've got plenty of them. I will say mind magic is taken, so that one is one that already has a professor.
Is there a history professor?
I think I would. I imagine generally that centaurs are kind of these big, beautiful. I mean, just the idea of half horse, half human body is just gorgeous to begin with. But I feel like the intro to magical theories professor is definitely like, I don't know how you would picture a scrawny centaur, but I just imagine like a scrawny centaur, just like an unfortunate lower half, like horse half that's more like a donkey, and the upper half is just some like scrawny guy who's very easily kind of walked over. I'm kind of basing him, unfortunately, off of my high school biology teacher, who just was kind of just this small, scrawny dude who got walked over by high school kids, which is kind of sad. So I imagine that's kind of the same thing. Like, this guy was so interested in the academia, but then realized he was not equipped to actually teach even a freshman college level course, but unfortunately, like, doesn't have many other options. So now is like caught teaching this entry level course and kind of just ends up getting pushed around each year by the kids. Like, his class is really easy because he ends up letting everybody pass regardless of how good or bad that they do, if they just like bat eyes at him or kind of bully him into giving them the grade that they need. And his name's Clyde, and it's kind of sad.
Oh, Professor
okay.
Clyde. Is that the last name or first name?
No, it's the only thing people call him is Clyde. They
Clyde.
don't really know, and they don't care. They're just like, the Clyde is all he's known by.
Oh, okay, Clyde. I love Clyde. Okay.
Unfortunately, the name is very similar, but I did name her Clytemnestra after the only correct woman in the Iliad. But
okay, so we have to either pick one. We have to change Clyde, or we have to change Clytemnestra.
She's called Nesta. Nesta. Okay. Short for Clytemnestra, who famously killed her husband in a bathtub. But
Heck yes.
Professor Shorn.
Is that her last name or her first name?
Her first name is Clytemnestra. Her last name is Shorn, so she's Professor.
Shorn. Cool.
Okay, so what class did Clyde teach again? Sorry, I kind of got swept up with the description of Clyde that I lost.
He
Intro to
teaches
magical.
that Intro to Magical Theory class.
Okay.
Because that seems appropriately boring, and
Mhm.
partially the reason that many people don't end up wanting to go any further into magical theory is because he's just like not really an engaging professor. He's like someone who you can tell is very smart, but is like cannot figure out how to teach to people who aren't as smart as he is, but he doesn't do it in a pompous way. He's just like actually detached and like is just like, I'm going to do this, and because of that gets stepped on a little bit.
Okay, I respect that.
Okay. Next.
Quite like the idea of a divination professor who is was a world-leading professional, like an industry, has several awards, and is now in retirement, so he started teaching. Not necessarily set on gender, but
okay.
everyone's kind of scared of them because they know you've not done the homework and they know you're lying to them. They also know when you came up with the lie and how much thought you put into it, and will list that off publicly. But they genuinely want to help you. They're caring, and if you come to them like, "Hey, I'm stuck," they know your problem and they will assist you. But they're also kind of a snarky dick.
Are they like a former do they work in politics? What was their? It seems like since they are very good at what they do, would they have a high position?
I feel like they were previously Chroma politics.
Okay.
They were previously one of the people who helped keep the Chroma Society a secret through knowing what's going to happen in the future. Oh, this group of people are going to come to this location soon. Let's switch where we're going.
Okay. Are they a really stern professor? It sounds like
I think
they
a very stern, but really understanding if you actually talk to them about it. They want what's best for you, but they also know what's best for you before you do.
Okay.
So they're not unhappy about being at the university necessarily.
No, this is their retirement. They genuinely want to be here. They want to help you, but everyone's kind of shit scared of them because you can't make up any excuses to them.
Yeah.
What if it was the Oracle of Delphi?
Yeah.
She's just so old. She's just older than dirt.
Professor Delphi?
I like that.
And everyone shows up and is like, is that the Delphi? That's the Delphi.
But before you even say it, she looks at you and says it. Because she knows what you're going to say.
Yeah, because it's one thing to just be generally be yes, I'm the Delphi, but to look at the student who's asking the question to themselves in that moment, eye contact, yes, Jeff, I'm the Delphi. No, Mary, I'm not making this up.
Awesome. And I looked at one of the students, yes, we can tell you're hungover. And then looked and continued back to the class.
Yep. She knows far too many things that are going on in school, and she does not like it.
Yeah. She knows everything.
Okay, let's see. Next class, or next professor.
Look, Clyde.
We have to have the charms professor. And I think that he's going to be a human.
Okay.
Fairly sporty as well, physically. And, he has to be a little bit on the athletic side to, I guess, keep up with a werewolf partner. And I want to give him... He's going to be Dr. James Bristol.
Okay. Ooh, doctor.
Does he come from the line of Bristols that made the Bristol stool chart?
You know what? I feel like he probably does.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
For those of you in the audience that don't know what the Bristol stool chart is, look it up and have a wonderful time.
I will.
Is he young? How old is he?
Yeah, He's probably in his 40s.
It's poop.
So young compared to, say, the Oracle.
Okay.
But his students probably think he's ancient. Students.
Yeah. Okay. I think we have Lauren, you're next.
My original idea was also Greek, so I don't know. I don't know if we could do another one, but I thought it would be funny to have Gorgon, and then just a head. As the teacher's just a head. Like,
Teacher's a head?
It's like Medusa. It's just like Medusa's still alive. It's just she's just a head now, and
Okay. Is it Medusa? Is that the teacher?
yeah. I mean that was, but I didn't. I know that we already have the Oracle of Delphi.
That's okay. What does Medusa teach?
I was thinking like maybe like history.
Okay.
Sort of like history class. That felt like it made sense, but.
And I assume students cannot look at her.
Well, maybe
All of her
maybe-
snakes are wearing little sunglasses.
Maybe all of her snakes are wearing little sunglasses or something.
Or
Or
like,
they-
like,
or all
like
of
a
her-
veil screen in
or
front of
maybe-
her podium.
Maybe, yeah, maybe there's like a special like COVID plastic thing, or like all of her students have to wear safety glasses or something when they walk in.
Okay, I love that.
Or she like yeah, because she's just a head maybe, and like the safety screen, she's just in like a fishbowl. Like a tinted fishbowl.
And she has an assistant who carries her around.
Like, is that Professor Deuces? I'm Professor Deuces.
I do like the
Yeah, I don't
idea. I
think-
feel like there is an opportunity here to provide an explanation as to why so many of these like Greek mythologic figures are actually showing like teaching at this school. I feel like there's an opportunity here. I don't know what that opportunity is, but I think that there is an opportunity to explain why and let that be part of the world.
I feel like maybe if we want to go fully like, oh, put the edge on it, this school needs to make it work. It's like the Athens school shut down recently or something like that, and so the students had to move to another school.
Okay.
Honestly, I also think it's just a good, like, an awful lot of these Greek mythological figures, obviously, there used to be, like, in times of Greece, a lot of stories about them that aren't anymore. That's because, like, after magic went silent, they kind of moved away. Some of them started teaching here, some of them started teaching America, some of them went to, like, Australia. Like, Osiris totally owns a cafe in Australia somewhere. And he's just kind of chilling.
Yeah, because there are demigods in this world, I imagine that it's just a popular place for students to go, right? Like, and there's probably just a large concentration of Greek deities and gods and people who come to this school, but yeah, I mean, we could say that the Athens school closed down. That's cool. Or it's like under renovation, maybe.
Mhm. I also like the idea that Delphi and Medusa are actually pretty good friends because Delphi's never going to turn to stone because Delphi always knows when to not look at Medusa. Like there's just like that's actually why they became friends because everyone else like almost never looks at Medusa because they're like, well, if I do, I'm gonna get whatever. But over the years before they figured out this tinted fishbowl thing, like Delphi and Medusa were actually pretty good friends because Delphi could actually just look at Medusa so they could hang out and do stuff without any fear of her getting turned to stone. So that's why they're together teaching at this school.
That's cute.
Yeah, like Delphi wanted to change in retirement, and Medusa's like, "Oh, I'll come with you."
Maybe there's a romance there. Who knows? You know.
Yeah, that's why they're not in Athens.
That's a rumor.
That's why they've been
People
teaching
are
here for
like,
so long.
Rumor.
okay. Awesome. Well, I think that's all I had. So unless you guys have anything else you want to add about your professors, we have a very fleshed out school and a concept and classes and professors. And unless there's anything else you guys want to add. Okay.
I
All
love this
right.
baby.
We say goodbye to the audience.
Say goodbye to the audience. Thank you,
Bye,
audience, for joining
audience.
us on this adventure. We will see you next time for episode 1.
Yeah.